Mahomes, he'll just chuck it ahead, and it's caught. McKinnon has that next gear. Touchdown on a full sprint to the end zone.
Live from Super Bowl 57 Radio Row in Phoenix, this is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Good protection for Jalen Hurts, who takes a shot, and he's got A.J. Brown inside the 10, inside the 5.
365 Sports coverage of Super Bowl 57 is brought to you by U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, IdealMRI.com, TFNB, your bank for life, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Cam Heathcott, and Chuck Verno, Marco's Pizza, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Waco Custom Marketplace, Three Nations Brewery, The Nitchie Group, and Petty Clinic Low T. Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Yeah, Craig is not in Phoenix with us, but he is back in the Waco area, and when there is something we need, we obviously have him available. He and Grayson just recorded and went live with the Bearcast earlier this afternoon on everything, hour plus of Baylor Athletics. Good afternoon. I'm David Smoak. Paul Catalina is here with me. We are inside the Phoenix Convention Center in Phoenix, Arizona. We arrived a little bit after midnight last night. We will bring you 3 hours that include Cincinnati football coach Scott Satterfield. We'll also hear from Baylor's assistant coach in Jared Nunes on their game tomorrow with Oklahoma. Mack Rhoades joins us today, Baylor AD at 4:20. Bobby Taylor, former Seahawks but longtime Eagles cornerback, is in town. We'll have him today. John McLean, top 5 maybe, probably not. We might just do that in a different way. And then an intriguing and deep story about former Lions quarterback Eric Kramer, who tried to kill himself. He's on Radio Row to discuss depression and also much, much more. This is the 57th Super Bowl. And the NFC has won 29, lost 27. It's very even, and that's amazing because in the 90s, late 80s and 90s, the NFC obliterated the AFC, and I think it was like, wasn't it a decade plus of NFC winning that game?
Yeah, it was
From the time,
dominance.
The time San Francisco won to, I think, maybe until Denver.
Yeah, so you had the Niners, the Giants, the
Washington run, Cowboys, 49ers again, and then even after
the
that,
Packers.
the Packers. Yep.
Yeah.
So 1997 or 8, I guess, when the Denver and John Elway won his first of what would be back-to-back Super Bowls. A lot to get to today. There's NFL news, college football news. We see you on the chat room as well. We appreciate you for being a part of it today, and hopefully we'll get feedback from you quite a bit. We will get into the Big 12 and men's basketball. Kansas with a win against Texas last night. It was not easy. Texas showing grit to keep that thing within reason. KU finished it out. We'll get to that and a lot more. Here's let's do this first. Travis Kelce, an incredible weapon for Patrick Mahomes. They're like left arm, right arm, correct? Mm-hmm. Saw this stat earlier today. He's been in 17 playoff games in his career. 127 gets a season. That's a full season now. His stats in those 17 playoff games, 127 catches, 1,467 yards and 15 scores. That would be a all-pro year for any wide receiver or anybody in a 17-game schedule.
Yeah, there's a big debate, and there will be for a long time because there's other guys who have to get in before him, about Julian Edelman in the Hall of Fame because of postseason numbers, kind of like that. Travis Kelce obviously is going to be a Hall of Famer. There's not a lot of tight ends in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the all-time greats when it comes to that. Like, he and Gronk have kind of redefined the position. And maybe they might have redefined the position in that now there'll be guys trying to play that are their size and speed. Right. Because there were, if you were built like Gronk or Travis Kelce, most of the time, like, even though you could probably do those things physically, think about Julius Peppers. Same size, same build, kind of, all-world athlete. Well, they had some gadget plays for him, but he was a defensive end because that's what you wanted your guys to be. And then when coaches started to figure out, like, oh, maybe this guy can be a tight end, maybe we can use him in the red zone, then those things start changing. And
getting
you see
down the field. Getting down in the seams down the field.
But his playoff number, like, he should be one of those guys that when they get up and present Travis Kelce, it shouldn't take that long.
No.
I mean, he's going to need more than, like, Tom Brady. When Patrick Mahomes is done, Patrick Mahomes.
He's not done.
No, exactly. But to me, he and Gronk, you shouldn't have to explain why both those guys should be in the Hall of Fame in a position that doesn't get many in. Look, there's going to be a debate on Jason Witten at that position, right?
Yep.
And Jason Witten was great. He was a fantastic player. He has numbers. He has all those things. The Cowboys didn't win enough for Jason Witten.
Yep.
None of it was Jason Witten's fault outside of a few holds and false starts, but that's what's going to hurt him. But guys like Gronk and Travis Kelce will get right in, like Tony Gonzalez got right in because
it helps if you win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Gonzalez
didn't, but he was
just so dynamic.
Yeah, he broke.
Here's a note on the Super Bowl and how popular it is. We know how it is. It was just a game. I mean, it really was. They didn't even call it the Super Bowl, I don't think, the first year or two. Kansas City, Green Bay won the first two, Lombardi's teams. A record 50.4 million adults in this country. 20% of the overall population of this country will bet in some way on something to do with Super Bowl 57. 50+ million people, 20% of the population will bet nearly $16 billion in some way. It could be how long the national anthem is or what if Rihanna loses a body part. I mean, whatever it might be, not a body part, that would be awful. That's 50 million people bet on the Super Bowl. The reason this game is popular is because it's more than it is a football. For me, it's a football game, but the entertainment aspect of it, all of the things, the halftime, all the gambling, all the betting, all of that, everything leading up to it, it's more than football for a lot of people.
This is the one night a year where you can convince people who don't care about football to care about football for a little bit. It's where they get into it. It's where they go and have fun. It's a social event. It's a social event. Yeah. For most people, it's not for us. Like, by the time we're done here, I just want to watch the Super Bowl with Amanda on Sunday. That's it. A couple years ago, we had Luke. Luke came and watched the Super Bowl with me, my nephew. That was fine. But, going to a party, I'm just so burnt after the week. I would love to be around people. It's just, you're so burnt out. But, yeah, for your normal American person who doesn't spend their week here,
no,
it's absolutely one of these social events of the year.
I've been through 3 phases of it. One, as a kid growing up, of course, it was the game. And then as a fan watching my team have success for a while, that was a part of it. Then I got a chance to go. And this is my 25th year on Radio Row. And I don't know how many games I attended. I think, Paul, you started to go to a couple at the end. And we're not going this year. Now it changes when you're at the game. It's more stressful. You didn't think, what are you talking about? You're at the Super Bowl. Yeah, you are, but there's a lot of moving parts when you're actually covering the game itself. It's a long night. The hardest part for me about Super Bowl Sunday was not being at the game, not being at the epicenter of sports in America or the event in America. It was always knowing that no matter if it was East Coast, Central, or Mountain, or Pacific time, the next morning I had an 8 o'clock flight flying out of somewhere, and it was going to be just disastrous because of the crowds and all that. Now, go back a little bit earlier, get a chance to watch the game from where I am in Waco.
I did think Q and I both got game credentials for Atlanta, and so we stayed and we were going to go to Atlanta. Q had the main one and I had the other one, and the way they used to do a thing, it was called the walk-around pass. You could go, and because of the dude who stole Brady's jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Because of that guy, they changed the walk-around pass. Yep. So we didn't know that until literally that day. We walk in and no, it's different this year.
Yep.
And I said, why? And they said, because of the jersey thief. And I was like, oh, man. So where do I go? I had to go back to the convention center. We'd been all week. And I thought, I'm sure they'll have a cool room for us set up. And I watched that Super Bowl thinking I was going to get to be there on a 32-inch TV
in the back
sitting
room.
next in a big room.
Yep.
Me and Bill Coates just looking at it like this.
I get it. Yeah, it used to be a roving. A concourse pass is what it was. You could go around. You could never really stand anywhere you weren't supposed to. but it was a concourse pass. All right, Big 12 men's basketball. Last night, Kansas beat Texas 88-80. When we were at the airport at Love Field in Dallas, when I arrived there, KU was up 12, I think. Texas cut it to 7, I believe, at halftime. They made that little run, and then, of course, it was back and forth, and then Kansas eventually ends up winning that game. The conference standings, Texas 8-3, Iowa State 7-3, Kansas 7-4, and then Baylor, TCU, and Kansas State 6-4. And here comes Mike Boynton and Oklahoma State. They're 5-5.
Yeah, look, Mike Boynton, never count that guy out, by the way. He's an excellent, excellent coach. And what that game reminded me of, Kansas and Texas, reminded me of Kansas and Baylor in that, Baylor controlled that Kansas and Baylor game early, went down by 1. Kansas controlled the Texas game early. Texas cut the lead 2-1. I don't think they ever had the lead. There was a little bit of a time where on the plane that, I couldn't keep up. But then all of a sudden, Kansas woke up again and won the game. Bill Self is 36-0 at home on Big Monday. 36-0 at home on Big Monday. He also got points out of everybody else but Jalen Wilson last night, which they lost and got throttled in Hilton on Saturday because it was Jalen Wilson.
And nobody else.
Honestly, their whole job was essentially to pass the ball to Jalen Wilson at Hilton Coliseum. Jalen Wilson had 2 points. The rest of the bench, Grady Dick had a great game. Yesufu had a really nice game off the bench as a bench. The rest of the team, you say that it's like one guy and the 9 other guys, how it was on Saturday, but they got a diverse performance from their whole team. And if Kansas can do that, they can beat anybody.
If they start getting Harris, who took 16 shots, and he told Bill Self, last time I did that was in 5th grade. Tonight, TCU, Kansas State, so somebody there is going to end up with a 5th loss with Kansas State. They've kind of gone into a slide at 6-1 at one point, 6-4. Baylor plays Oklahoma. That's tomorrow night. The women are home tonight at what might be a really great crowd at the Farrell Center, and a big win, a big game, and maybe win for Nikki Cowan and also Baylor women's basketball.
Can I give you, Smokey, do you want to go put some money down? I mean, Caesar Sportsbook's right across from us.
Right over that.
Do you want
50 yards from
Okay,
here.
50 yards, Caesar Sportsbook's behind, that way. I want you to go put everything you have on. I don't know if they'll take this bet, but I have a guaranteed lock for TCU and Kansas State.
What is it?
A team with purple will win.
Purple winners, yeah.
Purple
that's
will
all
win.
Scotty B mentioned in that. So that game's tonight. TCU, 8 o'clock, ESPNU. They're on the road. Kansas State, they lost to Kansas. They lost to Texas. And again, everyone's going to go through one of these 1, 2, 3 game slides. You burp, you blink, you turn your head and cough. And next thing you know, remember Baylor started out the conference at 0-3. Now, also today, Scott Satterfield, head coach at Cincinnati, will join us. The Kelsey brothers, there's a lot of connection to Cincinnati and a lot of connection to the Super Bowl, and Scott Satterfield will have him on the show. The game with Baylor will be the first time they've ever played Baylor in football. There's a lot of that's going to go on now as some of the conference realignment does change. We will be here through Friday, 365 Sports. We're here every day. What we do, and we flew in last night, and to give you a little bit, I put up on my Twitter handle at David Smoak, and we'll maybe put up a couple of pictures at some point. We're in the convention center and at one of the levels. There's like 4 levels here, and there are, I'm going to say about 75, maybe 50 to 60 booths like what we have around us. For example, there's the Horn in Austin. We've known them forever. About 3 or 4 tables down is the Fan in Dallas. Down on this same row at the very end is a station, KTBB in Tyler, where I worked for many years, a friend of ours, great friend Bill Coates and Kevin Simon. And then there's others, for example, Philadelphia, Kansas City, you name it, there are stations from around the country here on Radio Row. We're inside the convention center, and we'll have interviews throughout over the next few days, and look forward to be able to pass along a lot of that information to you. College football, Lance Guidry, the new defensive coordinator at Miami. He's at Tulane. Did a great job, obviously, at Tulane. He's now headed to Miami. And speaking of Miami, Brian Flores, this was late yesterday, but we didn't say much, I think, because we were going rapid fire. Brian Flores now the new defensive coordinator from Minnesota, and D'Amico Ryans from San Francisco to Houston. That was last week because he's gone. Steve Wilks, former interim head coach at Carolina, is now the defensive coordinator with the 49ers.
Curious to see how that works out for Steve Wilks, and I'm not trying to knock him, but D'Amico Ryans did such a fantastic job. It's going to be really hard for Steve Wilks to equal that, but also, I think you just have to be this. Just make sure you don't fall off too much because the defense is really, really good there.
Yeah.
So that's a really good situation, especially talent. Like when you've got a Bosa, and a Fred Warner and guys like that.
You know what? In that game with the Cowboys, and I've seen the 49ers play a lot, Eagles play a lot, Cowboys play a lot. But in that game with the 49ers, even though Pollard went out, and I understand that, I think CeeDee had the long throw and catch, or had the long catch and made a great catch. But you just never felt like they were going to pop anything against that Niners defense. It's like just squeezes you like a big python along the way. All right, it's 3:16. What do we got in the chat room today? The text line is open as well today. On the chat room, Paxton, I'm taking the Chiefs. Stephen Heindel, I haven't checked yet. What are the best props this year? We'll get into that. On like how long will it take to sing the national anthem might be one. Paxton, let's see, from Clint picking the Eagles. Paxton, nice banner. That's from W Promotions right behind us. Thank you for noticing that. Michael DeHart, there's always somebody that does something stupid and messes everything up for everybody.
Is that for the Super Bowl?
I don't know if he's talking about predictions on the chat room or where that might come from Wet Blanket Eagles and the over. Sir blah, 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 or it means pizza and wings. Now we're getting into the food as far as Super Bowl day. Everything sounds great, perfect, sounds on point. Multi-angles look good, no lagging. They hung 88 on a night their best player had 2 points.
No, we're talking about KU. Yeah, that's what I think is so wild about Kansas. About Kansas this year is they hung 88 against the top team in the conference when Jalen Wilson scored 2 points. Yet on Saturday they could not get Saturday against TCU. Those games were very similar in that they could not get out of their own way, and the other team just rolled right through them because it was only Jalen Wilson. So I actually, if you ask Bill Self which game you'd rather have, he'd probably pick this one, even though Jalen Wilson only scored 2, because he knows that Jalen Wilson's not going to have many more of those. He is that good of a player.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, he's a player of the year candidate. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be in the top 3 of that all year long, so he's going to be fine. So again, if he can show the team, I'm sure he's going to show them the tape on loop. You see where you guys did this. Like, this is how we win again because everybody all contributed.
Yeah. Also, Paxton goes, man, guys, Texas needs a break. They've been in that little rotation that some teams get in where you play Saturday, Monday. They don't play again until Saturday. They play West Virginia. That's normal. So they have a day or two, and then they play in Lubbock on Monday. So they're back to that Saturday, Monday again coming up, in fact, this weekend. Garrett Ross is here. Garrett? Are you up and ready to go? First time you've ever been. I thought you had been to one or two before. First time that you've been to Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blast, kind of just taking everything in, getting to see everybody walking around. It's kind of more than I really expected. But, yeah, I'm having a blast right now, man.
Jacob Wilson is here. He was already in town because of with his wife in town because of a vacation that got, I guess, whatever reason happened. Jacob, first time Jacob's been a part of it. It was in Hawaii. You were in Hawaii for a little bit, and then you came to Phoenix because your in-laws live here, right, in Scottsdale?
Yeah, it's been a big 2 weeks for me, Smokey. I know I'm not on camera, but last week I was in Hawaii to check out officially from the Marine Corps. Got my DD-214. All the veterans out there know how big of a deal that is, honorable discharge. And my wife is from here, and so we flew here last week. I hopped on a flight to Hawaii, took care of business, came back, joined them here in Phoenix, and they're in Scottsdale right now.
Well, it's great to have you here as well. Again, Craig back in Waco to hold down if there's anything there from that angle. He'll be there for that. Jack McKenzie, of course, is monitoring. Emery Winter monitoring and doing whatever we do. People want to know, and this could create an early friction, how come Smokey has a laptop and Paul has a phone?
Paul has a phone because the guy fixing his laptop did not completely share all the things that could be wrong with his computer when he dropped it off and said he'd have it fixed by 4 o'clock.
There's two things that Paul has made fun of me over the years, or just basically criticized me. One of them is my driving. Want to go there?
Nope.
And number two is my computer is always like an old man computer. Now, Paul did have an accident, and so that's why his laptop needed to be fixed. But I was always told that, what's the name of it?
The Apple computers.
The Apple computers
work much better.
A Mac, right?
Yeah, Macs to
that
me.
They were invincible, and yet my computer here, and he's got a phone.
Not exactly my words. By the way, my phone and your phone made by the same company that makes the computer. Just saying that.
My computer's here.
Yeah, your computer's here. Well, you didn't drop it, so I dropped mine and I had to fix
before,
it. Yeah.
Though.
So my contention is that, and it's gotten better in the last couple of years, but Windows is garbage. I don't like Windows. I didn't like what they did with it, so I switched to Mac. Mac's been very much easier to use and smoother, and I've had far less problems. But unless you drop the thing.
By the way, King Williams 3D, Paul, you lost that one. King Williams 3D to Jacob, congratulations, bro. Thank you for your service, which goes without saying, but I'm glad you did. King Williams 3D, thank you very much. How much is from TJ Scott? Because there's a lot of intricacies and background stories about covering or being at the Super Bowl as a fan or in media. How much of the hotel rooms and how many days did you have to book it? Now, we're at an Airbnb, and it's a really nice Airbnb. You walk in, there's all sorts of space, living area, kitchen, 2 bedrooms, and then you walk through the back door, living quarters, where there's a couple of bedrooms and a big kitchen and all you need back there. So we're not in a hotel. The media rooms, I think, when I remember, we had the option of getting rooms. We can get 2 or rooms or 1 or 5. We're in the 400 or so category, and that's with the NFL getting a pretty good rate. I'm sure some are outrageous.
Yeah, they're crazy. That's, again, with the rate. The other thing you have to do is, if you get the hotel room, you have to promise to stay
through the weekend.
The weekend.
You have to be there at least like a Thursday or a Friday. You have to absolutely be there like for 4 days, like Thursday through Sunday. That's when they get you. Then the rates obviously go up as well.
So you can't.
On the weekend.
So you got to get, if you're going to come in and come out like we are, we're leaving on Friday night, you have to find an Airbnb, and sometimes that's been a challenge. Sometimes you have to change it the week of, because
this is a nice one. I'm going to give you credit for this one. There have been some where we were worried about
very
broken glass
here.
and bullet holes.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, it seems to be good. And in fact, I know as we were coming from the airport, the show drove to Dallas, flew out, and you got quiet as we were going into wherever McKinley Road was. I noticed that you were probably getting a little bit nervous because we've driven into some Airbnb areas, Atlanta and Oxnard, where we would not recommend you ever stay if you wanted to continue to work that week.
Oxnard was fine. Atlanta was terrible, and the house we were in Atlanta was remodeled and beautiful. Anybody would want to live in that house, just not maybe in where that house was.
I was able to stay at
you stay at the Westin.
The Westin.
So you were all right. But yeah, we were driving in, and liquor store, motel, and then you cross over the border of that. But we're not far from the airport. We're not far from the convention center.
No,
it's a great location. But the path there. Not to mention the fact that we got outside. There were only 2 taxis. And we had all this gear, and the cab driver says, "I don't know, I got you." And there were 6 bags, large bags that we have of gear and clothes and all that. The 3 of us, Garrett is like a lurch anyway, so he's going to get to sit in the front. So Lurch is in the front, and then one of the seats is folded down in the back, and he's like, no, you'll have plenty of space for the 2 of you to sit. Now, look. My weight has fluctuated. It's a big point of contention for me, and I have a hard time with it. I'm a husky guy, and I admit it. I understand it. I'm not in any kind of thing. Smokey's in fantastic shape. But even if I was at my thinnest 3 years ago, at my absolute thinnest, we still would have been in that exact same position last night.
We were in the back seat. They folded down one of them. They folded down one of the seats for us to put more of our luggage, had some of the equipment. And then in the other seat was the 2 of us.
I was up on a ridge.
My left hip will never be the same.
Like, this is me.
Never be the same.
Yeah.
Brad Strickland, I do. How about Atlanta, that Airbnb? Brad knows. I hope it's better. No, we're in a really nice place. It's really great. Yeah, TJ Scott, bullet holes in the Oxnard Airbnb.
It was not bullet holes. It was.
The worst part was there were no bullet holes, broken glass, but bullet holes by the end of the second night.
No, it was fine.
There. All right, when we come back, he's the new head coach at Cincinnati. Scott Satterfield came from Louisville. He's now at Cincinnati. His thoughts about this week in the Super Bowl, his first few weeks on the job at Cincy, and more. And this is 365 Sports at Super Bowl Radio Row in Phoenix.
The President's Day sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels in Waco. Shop the great selection of new cars, trucks, and SUVs and get amazing deals on new Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Chrysler sedans, and minivans, or a sporty Dodge. Get more for less, guaranteed, more value, more selection, more service, and more trade-in allowance. And of course, if we don't have exactly what you want in stock, we can help you build the custom car, truck, SUV, or van of your dreams and order it today. It's the President's Day sales event happening right now at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We're back in Phoenix, NFL Radio Row inside the Convention Center. And, of course, coming up on Sunday, Super Bowl 57, Chiefs and Eagles. Patrick Mahomes and also Jalen Hurts, 2 former Big 12 quarterbacks. Mahomes at Tech and Jalen Hurts started Alabama, we know that, but ended up playing at Oklahoma. Speaking of the Big 12, we are joined by Scott Satterfield. He's the head coach at Cincinnati. He joins us on 365 Sports. Coach, thanks for your time. What's it like now knowing you have a schedule, you're going to enter, you're going to be a part of it, your first year at Cincinnati and being part of the Big 12?
Well, it's very exciting. Obviously, Cincinnati's the first year they're going to be playing in the Big 12, and we're excited about that. Starting with our first Big 12 opponent, Oklahoma. I think a team everybody certainly recognizes that name. So we're going to we got a lot of work to do between now and then, but we're excited about this opportunity.
For you leaving Louisville and going to Cincinnati, was the Big 12 the starting the new conference? How big of a draw was that? Not many coaches are going to get to do that through their career, bring a team into a new conference.
Yeah, it certainly was a factor with that. I think, just being here, the tradition that the Cincinnati football has had over the years, it's incredible what they've been able to accomplish, particularly in the last, 5 years, playing in the college football playoffs. And, we had 9 players drafted a couple years ago. It's certainly a program that is certainly known and has been known. But to usher in a new conference like the Big 12 with a lot of changes going on in college football that we're seeing across the board, I think it's a great opportunity to be a part of that and to be on the front end of this move, and excited to be here in such a great town and a great city that loves their football.
How much, Coach, do you use this week with the Kelsey brothers who both played at Cincinnati? How much can you use that as part of the story of that great program?
Oh, yeah. You got to use it. Their story is incredible anyway. The way they came here. Jason was coming as a linebacker, as a walk-on. And now he's one of the best centers in the NFL. And certainly Travis, had some ups and downs when he came to Cincinnati as well. But to me, their story is incredible, particularly in today's era of college football when you see, guys that they want to be starters when the day one they come into these programs in college, and if they're not waiting around to see if they're going to play, they're going to transfer. And I think what these guys were able to do to come here and develop and become great players, the testament to them and their work ethic and doing where they are right now. I think it's a great example of what we want, Cincinnati Bearcat football players to be about.
How do you feel about the transition of your roster when you take over as a new coach? Obviously there's, and college football is a big revolving door now, more than anybody probably ever thought it would be. But how do you feel about the transition of the roster and the way that you guys are set up to start out spring and start to implement your system?
Well, I think it's a little unknown right now. Of course, we've been recruiting. We're finally in a dead period where we don't go out. So this is really the first week of really getting around our guys. So we got to go through spring practice and see where we're at with everything within our positions. So we've tried to add it within the portal, and we've added roughly 15 players that are coming in new that have played college football that come in and try to help this team with this nucleus that's been here, a team that's won a lot of football games over the last 2 to 3 years. So. I think there's still a lot that remains to be seen to see where we're at. Particularly, you got to have a quarterback. You got to have some guys that on the perimeter that can catch the ball and get some big plays. We know in the Big 12 there's a lot of points that have been scored within the league. And so, therefore, you better be good on defense. And I think we got a great nucleus of guys on defense that can compete at this level. So really just excited to get on in spring practice and kind of see where we are and see what how can we improve between now and August.
Does the transfer portal and the way it's set up, and this year, of course, there's a gap between the first part of it and then May 1st, does the transfer portal help a new coach, an incoming staff? Does it help or not? Does it make a difference or not in the transition?
It's kind of a double-edged sword, really, because if a coach is at a program and ends up leaving, you're going to have some players that are going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think change is scary to a lot of people, right? And the unknown is scary. So people are like, listen, if it's going to be a change, then I'm going to go try to go see if I can play somewhere else because I have no idea who they're going to hire in here. And so that part of it is not good. But on the flip side of that, once you get there, we kind of see where the holes need to be filled, and you're able to do that through the portal. I think before – you were not able to do that, and you got, signing dates, coming and going, and you're just behind. And so it does help on that regard. So, but I do see it as a double-edged sword. You're going to lose some, and you're going to gain some. And then I think at the end of the day, whoever you have, we got to coach them up to be great football players.
I know this is probably going to be a generality that doesn't apply to everybody, but do you feel that, especially in the first couple of years, that portal players are easier to bring along than your freshmen, or is it kind of the same thing?
Well, I do think a player that has played college football and has that experience and have gone through some things in order for that to happen, they are more ready to play. And so, if you do bring in some players that have played, then they're going to have a more opportunity to get on the field and help you and help you go out and compete at a high level. I think, you may get some players out of high school that can come and help you, and they'll end up being good players for you. But more times than not, those players are going to need some time to develop, whether it be a few months or a year, or a couple of years. So I do think the beauty of getting a player out of the portal that has played college football, you feel like you know what they can do. You've seen them compete at that level. You've seen that film, and they can come in and help you as compared to a high school player where sometimes, you can get fooled. You think they're ready to go, but maybe they're not. And a lot goes into that, I think, more mentally than anything.
Tom Manning, your offensive coordinator, has been a part of the Big 12 before with Oklahoma and also Iowa State. Can you pick his brain a little bit about what he's experienced before?
Absolutely. I mean, he was one of the main reasons I was interested in hiring Tom. I worked with Tom in 2009 at University of Toledo. It was a long time ago, and kept up with him for over all these years. And, he was at Iowa State where they were putting out a lot of great players. And, of course, Brock Purdy's a player that everybody heard about this season in the NFL with the 49ers. And he was a part of that team, and calling plays for Brock. So he's got a great idea of what it takes in that Big 12, how to win it, how to score points. And, we offensively and defensively, we've been asking him a lot of questions about the conference and certainly about the personnel and the players that are in that conference. And I know there's a lot of talented players that are playing in that league week in and week out, but I think he's going to help us as we move and maneuver through this Big 12 schedule.
You now are in a state that has been, and I know they're a monster place at Ohio State, the history and tradition, but they've had that state by themselves among Power 5 programs. Now Cincinnati's a part of a Power 5. How much does that help you in your recruiting story?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to help us. I think, Ohio State's been the only Power 5 team around in this state, and of course, a lot of teams try to come in the state and get these players. There's some great high school football players within the state of Ohio and outstanding coaches here. We just got back from the Ohio State Coaches Association and tremendous coaches. And so, for us to be able to say you don't have to leave the state now to play at the Power 5 level. Maybe Ohio State doesn't want you and they're not recruiting you, but you're going to have a great opportunity, a great chance right here in the city of Cincinnati to come play for the Bearcats. So I think it's certainly helping us. We've had some junior days. We've had some, talking to these, recruits in 2024 class and 2025 class. And, it certainly opens up their eyes to know I can compete at the highest level and I don't have to go, 3, 4, 5 hours away. I can go play right there at Cincinnati.
How big of a draw is it's a big city. I mean, that's different than, it's not a normal college town. It's an NFL city. There's lots of commerce and things. How much of a draw has that been?
Oh, it's great. I think, going around and recruiting it, particularly within this state, very positive feedback, about the city of Cincinnati. Everybody that I've talked to love it. They say, oh, you're going to love it. You're just moving there, but you're going to love it. There's a lot to do there. Outside of the college, there's so many things. You mentioned it. We have the Bengals, which has been a great story there right here. You have the Reds. I mean, there's so many things that are going on in the city. There's a lot of pride and a lot of passion with the people here. You're going to get a great fan base that's going to watch you play. And we're at a school with 35,000 students. So, it's a vibrant campus. A lot of things happening here. A lot of people moving around. A lot of energy, and I think people want to be a part of that. So, yeah, we're certainly going to sell the city. We're going to sell our schools and sell the opportunity to play in the Big 12 in one of the most iconic stadiums in the country. Right here on campus, one of the oldest stadiums out here. So at Nippert. So it's going to be it's an awesome sell for us, and these players are certainly taking notice.
Scott Satterfield, again, the head coach at Cincinnati, with us on 365 Sports. You open up, you mentioned Big 12 play with Oklahoma. In the history of the college football playoff, we know Alabama's been a part of it, and others have had their runs with it, including lately Georgia. Oklahoma had their toes in that water as well, and just 2 years ago, Cincinnati was there. Is that kind of ironic that you're playing each other the first year of the Big 12?
Yeah, it probably is, I guess. Certainly, both teams have had their share of great success, and, the opportunity to play in the Final Four in football is incredible. What a great honor. And, it's something that we're striving to continue to be able to do. And I think now, with Cincinnati competing at this Big 12 and playing these teams that we're going to be playing week in and week out, certainly going to give you a chance if you go out there and play great against these teams, each and every week. And, of course, playing Oklahoma, a brand that everybody is familiar with and they know, I think, this is one of the benefits, obviously, if you're going to this conference, to be able to play some of these type teams and bring them into our stadium and sell a bunch of tickets and pack it out. I mean, it's going to be awesome to be able to see that.
How much does, and Cincinnati has been building and doing new things, of course, with athletics, but how much does the new revenue stream, much higher revenue stream, help you and Cincinnati do even more?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly, because it takes money to run these programs. We all know that. And, the teams that have more of that money are able to do more things. And, it's like what we're doing right now. We're breaking ground next week on a brand new indoor and football complex that is going to house our football team, meeting rooms, weight rooms, cafeteria, everything that we need to be able to compete in the Big 12 and to be successful in that. And, it's a $120 million facility. And if you're not going into the Big 12, you're not going to be able to build a facility like this. And so, we're certainly going to take advantage of that. And also, as we talk about bringing these teams in here, you're going to sell more tickets. I mean, you're going to pack it out, each and every week, with merchandising and everything else that in order to create revenue. So I think being a part of this conference is certainly going to help that and continue this football footprint and continue to help it grow. You wouldn't be able to do that had you not been able to make that jump into this conference.
Two of your opponents, sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Two of your opponents this year are Pitt and UCF, and you at Louisville played them last year. How much does that, you know some of these teams. It's not like it's your first rodeo, but you know them pretty well because you just saw them.
Yeah, exactly. And, and we know they're got two really good football teams. I mean, Pitt won the ACC, 2 years ago. We brought them in our place last year and beat them. We know how good they are. They're solid year in and year out, play great defense, Coach Narduzzi. And then, Coach Malzahn down at Central Florida, they did a great job. We know you got great team speed there. They're very aggressive on offense and defense. And, they've been a team that's been in the national spotlight as well, won a ton of games, in the previous conference. And so, we're making that transition now together in the Big 12, and then we know what kind of opponents they're going to be. So it does help, I think, for us to know. We know some of their personnel. We know some of the things that they've done, and we had success against them. So, you're certainly going to use that experience as we head this year playing these guys.
We're talking to Scott Satterfield, head football coach at Cincinnati, with us on 365 Sports.
As a college football coach, obviously that means that you at your heart are a college football fan and you love the game, you love everything about it, but it's different for everybody, especially when you're in the business. Do you get excited for road games, especially in places you haven't been before, or do you have to be maybe too much involved in the moment to kind of to get into all that?
No, I get excited. I think, as I look down at the schedule, I mean, having to go to BYU, I think that's going to be pretty cool. I've heard great things about that place. Going to Oklahoma State, seen it on TV, and I know there's a passionate fan base out there as well. And of course, at West Virginia, I've seen them as well. So yeah, I mean, it's exciting for me. I'm a fan of college football. I like to go do it. And once you're in the game, we're there to play. We're there to win. So I go in there and check it out for a little bit, and then we're focusing on what we have to do. But I think, like, as I'm sitting here today, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool. We get to go check out some places. And when I first started playing football when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, I had no idea that I would be able to travel the country and see the whole United States with the game of football. So to me, it's a blessing and it's exciting to be able to do that. And so I certainly don't take it for granted. I take it in and enjoy the whole process.
All right, so we have to ask you this question. When at Appalachian State in 2007, where were you when they blocked the field goal to secure the win against Michigan?
I was in the press box. So that day I was calling the plays on offense. And, I remember at halftime we were winning by, I think, 2 scores, so 14 points. And at halftime, I didn't even go down. I was like, just tell the boys, keep it up. They're playing good. I went and got a Coke and a popcorn and kind of relaxed a little bit and get ready for that third quarter. But when that kick was blocked, I was probably standing on top of the table in the press box.
Who was it we were talking? We had an interview, Scott, he was at Auburn on the kick 6. Remember? And he was worried he was going to trip the guy because he was running down the sideline with him. And that was a dramatic play.
Christian Robin? Was it Christian Robin?
Maybe.
I don't know. So in that moment, was it almost like you were throwing a no-hitter, or the offense is throwing a no-hitter, so you didn't want to go down and talk to him and mess it up? Is that why you were like –
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of that. Well, they told us before the game, listen, it's going to take you a long time to get down at halftime. You got to go down the elevator. You got to get in a police car. You got to ride around and go in and talk to you guys again. We were playing so good. I was like, I don't want to go screw anything up. Just tell the boys to keep it up, So I wasn't going to be there long anyway. So I just relaxed and stayed up there and had a Coke and a popcorn. So, and then we hung on there at the end of the fourth quarter and ended up winning that thing. So it was amazing.
All right, Scott, you are, and again, about to join this conference. What is the buzz on campus? And you've been there just for a few weeks, but I know last fall it was huge, or 2 years ago it was huge when everything changed with Texas, OU, SEC, and then the 4 new incoming teams, including Cincinnati. We've had Mr. Cunningham on, the AD, and what the buzz is like. Can you feel a little bit of that buzz?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just think that, everybody's just real anxious and excited to be able to host, some of these teams and these teams that they've seen, play at the highest level of college football, to play on, TV week in and week out. And for us now here at Cincinnati to be able to play in that kind of a game, to be able to play these teams week in and week out, it's a big buzz. And I think it's something that this school has, trying to get to that point, to where you're playing Power 5 football. They've had such great tradition, and now we're finally here, and and now we got to continue that tradition and continue create some great memories and new memories in this Big 12 conference. So yeah, everybody's excited about it, and they're looking forward to it.
Have you ever attended a Super Bowl?
I have not. That's a tough ticket to get, and you know what? I like sitting in my living room and having some drinks and some food and cheering it on from the living room. At some point, though, that'd be a bucket list item to be able to go check out a Super Bowl.
Scott, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck moving forward. It's great to have you on the show. We appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on, and, looking forward to talking to you soon.
Scott Satterfield, head coach at Cincinnati, last 3 years at Louisville, long time as an assistant coach at Appalachian State, then a head coach there, and now the head coach at Cincinnati. And Steve Smoak, who's a huge Cincinnati fan, he started to watch us, I think, back when all the thoughts about what's next in the Big 12, and he'll send me, some comments before about Cincinnati. Obviously Luke Fickell did a great job there, and they made the run until 2 years ago, made it to the semifinals. But, change is what it is. Just like in conferences, coaching changes. Fickell now at Wisconsin. Scott Satterfield now from Louisville to Cincinnati, and he is a part of the Big 12. Great to have him. So we've had Malzahn, so Kalani Sitake, and also just now Scott Satterfield. Dana Holgerson maybe at some point, maybe after spring drill, summertime, to get all 4 of the incoming head coaches who are part of the Big 12. All right, when we come back, a couple of the notes to get to. We hope that our conversation today with Jared Nunes, the assistant coach at Baylor, will be a part of what we have coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. Mack Rhoades, Baylor's director of athletics as well. And then a deep, emotional, and a miracle story about former NFL quarterback Eric Kramer and what he's been through in life. And here to tell about it, this is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon wrap fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes, cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Dennis Haiti with an interesting note, and on occasion, like Craig on Off the Radar has given throughout football season the highest watched games and some of those statistics, the NFL as well, we know is monstrous. And he asked this question. Radio Row at the 2023 Super Bowl leads me to a thought. How many Americans will actually listen to the game on the radio? I know it's a non-zero number. Here's what I told a sponsor one time when we were selling sponsorships. This might have been 25 years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but it was back. The first Super Bowl I ever went to was in '92, Cowboys and Bills, and I was told I would never get a chance to go there, and I'll tell that story perhaps even now. But so a sponsor was telling me, this is a long time ago, but no one listens to the game on the radio. All right? So have you ever been on a major highway during a major event, a sporting event? Could you just walk out there and just enjoy yourself?
No.
Now, are they watching? Are they listening on the radio? I don't know that. But there's the numbers back in the day on the radio were pretty good because we would get those statistics. We would get the data, the analytics, the numbers, etc. I don't know. We can ask people on the. When was the last time you listened to the Super Bowl on the radio, which would be what, CBS Westwood One or whatever it is?
Westwood One.
Yeah.
I'll tell you from what my experience was, and of course at the radio station we were previously at, we carried it every year. And when people would ask the same question, what I would say and what the feedback I got, especially from Westwood One, is when you ask them, because I would ask them these questions because I was curious about the same thing, like how many people really are listening on the radio? Clearly not as much as there used to be. Now that everybody's got TV, and now that the NFL has other venues of some people maybe not listening on the radio or maybe radio, but they might be listening to the stream, or there's other ways to get the broadcast if you're not, sitting in front of a television now. So they're with streaming and all that and what they do, but there's still hoops you got to jump through. But if you are a person who has to work a job that does not care that it's Super Bowl Sunday, then you bet you're listening to it on the radio, right? Because that's what it like. There are also people who are just radio enthusiasts who just want to hear, they want to hear Kevin Harlan do the game because he's the one who does the Super Bowl game every year. He's fantastic. He's one of my favorites. But they, so if you're a guy who's working the night shift, there's tons of people all over the country working the night shift that can't, they go, well, it's Super Bowl Sunday. Well, guess what? Don't care. We still have to do this. Truck drivers, like all that, that's who's listening to it, and it's a larger part of America than you realize.
I know this, and I did Google this, Dennis, and others who were asking the question. The NFL gets paid a ton of money from Sirius XM Radio. Is it for the Super Bowl? No. It's for all 32 teams to have their broadcast that you can get by going to NFL.com and getting those streaming. But Sirius XM does pay a ton for the radio broadcast. Now, that also, if you're a Cowboys fan and you, for whatever reason, can't watch the game, you want to listen to Brad Sham. Whoever your favorite team is, you want to hear the voice of that team. But they do have a millions of dollar contract. I don't know the exact number. But that's a great question. It is. And last time that you maybe listened to the Super Bowl, somebody put on there, the last time I listened to Major League Baseball was the 2004 World Series.
Look, I'll tell you, when it comes to listening to sports, it's less than it used to be, obviously, because there's many different ways you can watch now. But it's more than you realize. It's way more than you realize. And that's always going to be true because of the different things. And just because, again, if I want to hear the so-and-so broadcast, then I'm going to listen to mine. And some people, there's devices you can buy now that will sync up the radio and television because the delays are a second or two off.
Right.
But you can buy a device that will sync it up, and you can listen to your home broadcast over the game.
I know this at Radio Row, the first year I ever went, and I know we have Jared Nunes coming up next, Baylor men's basketball. 1992, I was telling Garrett this story. Garrett had never heard this story. So I'm working at KTBB Radio in Tyler. The Cowboys obviously have this team that won in 15 and 89 to 7-9 to making the playoffs, losing to Detroit in 91, who lost to Washington, who won the Super Bowl. You could feel it coming. 92, they're on their way. How does Deion say in college? We're coming.
Yeah.
Well, then they beat San Francisco. But before that, to get to the Super Bowl, I had applied to get credentials to the Super Bowl to cover the Cowboys, and I was told, are you kidding me? So I had an interview with Jerry Jones from earlier when I started a new talk show in 1990, and I sent the lady at the NFL a cassette of the interview. Jacob, you're in the camera. A cassette. She listened to the interview, and I wrote a letter to her, a handwritten letter, that if you listen to this interview and you don't think it's worthy of me covering the Super Bowl and the Cowboys, that's fine. She called me. She said, you have a Super Bowl week of credential, game credential. I went to the game. I did the Super Bowl Radio Row. There were like 12 stations at the Century Plaza Hotel. 12 spots. ESPN was just starting. Mike Tirico's right across the hallway putting up a table just like ours. Randy Galloway, Norm Hitzges, Ron Barr, San Francisco national talk show host, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. That was it.
Did you have the juice on?
We had the juice.
Yeah. We had O.J. Simpson, who after that, nobody ever heard from again. In 1992.
People heard from
nobody
him.
ever. After 1992, nobody knows anything about O.J. Simpson.
Joe Gibbs, O.J. Simpson, it was unbelievable. There were very few stations there. We took a shot. I took a shot. It worked, and then from every year other than maybe one or two, Been covering the Super Bowl Radio Row and back at it here in Phoenix. All right, when we come back, the Big 12 men's basketball, because of Kansas beating Texas, another loss in the loss column, which means everybody has at least 3 in the Big 12. And we're just now hitting the stretch drive. Jared Nunes and Oklahoma, Baylor plays Oklahoma at home tomorrow night. Remember, they struggled in Norman and had to find a way to win that game, and they did. We'll hear from Jared Nunes, Baylor men's basketball assistant coach, next on 365 Sports.
Good protection for Jalen Hurts, who takes a shot, and he's got A.J. Brown inside the 10, inside the 5.
Super Bowl 57 is headed to Arizona, and so are the Chiefs and Eagles. 365 Sports will broadcast live starting on Tuesday, February 7th from NFL Media Headquarters in downtown Phoenix. Join 365 Sports throughout the week for daily news and notes on the big game, interviews with players, personalities, and more at Radio Row inside the Phoenix Convention Center.
Mahomes, he'll just chuck it ahead, and it's caught. McKinnon has that next gear. Touchdown on a full sprint to the end zone.
365 Sports Live from Super Bowl 57 is brought to you by
U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, IdealMRI.com, TFNB, your bank for life, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance.
Jared Nunes, assistant men's basketball coach, Scott Drew in Baylor, Oklahoma, coming up on Wednesday. And a game that, to me, Jared, thanks for your time, a game to me that you guys just gutted that one out up in Norman, the way you finished the game. How much different?
The Nitchie Group and Petty Clinic Low T.
The Chiefs versus the Eagles from Super Bowl 57.
Second and goal. He lofts it to the end zone, and it is caught by Kelsey for the touchdown.
365 Sports will be there live starting on Tuesday, February 7th.
The future's bright, the time is now.
College is what you make it. It's a late night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for
Jared
success
Nunes,
into the
assistant
future.
men's
Highly
basketball
qualified
coach, Scott
candidates who
Drew
earn
in
a spot
Baylor,
on our team can
Oklahoma,
receive
coming up on
comprehensive
Wednesday.
healthcare coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
one size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses. When it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one size fits all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Jared Nunes,
Now
assistant
here's David
men's
Smoak
basketball
and
coach,
Paul
Scott Drew in
Catalina.
Baylor, Oklahoma, coming up on Wednesday. And that game that, to me, Jared, thanks for your time. A game to me that you guys just gutted that one out up in Norman, the way you finished the game. How much different are you than then, and vice versa with Oklahoma?
Well, I think right now we've really kind of been focusing a lot on the defensive end and trying to tighten some things up there, some rotation issues that we were having, and just positioning issues. And Oklahoma is a really good basketball team. He does a really good job. They run a lot of good stuff. So we feel a little bit more prepared this time around. I think we were last time, but I think they added some new wrinkles. So hopefully coming into the game tomorrow, we'll be a little bit more prepared on certain things they run, certain actions they run.
How does getting everyday John back in the lineup change what you guys do defensively, even though I know that it was just 14 minutes the last time around, and I know that you're not going to go full complete boat with him yet, but how does he change the lineup defensively?
Oh, John you can't put value on his leadership, his experience, his toughness, and just his ability to understand where he needs to be and where the guys need to be at all times. And, obviously it was a tremendous boost for us to get him back. Very inspiring, emotional, but just from a basketball standpoint, just the things that he brings to our team, you just can't put on paper. And so we're excited to have him back. Hopefully he continues to get, even more in shape and more healthy. Having him back just from a leadership standpoint has been tremendous.
When did you know he was coming back?
We had a good feeling the last probably week or so. Once he started ramping up his workout, he started to feel more confident. His lateral movement has been improving every week. And then it was just a matter of, when he felt comfortable. We were going to support him no matter what. And whenever he felt that it was time, then, he was going to let us know. So I think coming into last week is when we all felt like, in the next few games he was going to be coming back.
Jared, I had what ultimately I thought was kind of a foolish thought about him when, Ashley kind of told us like, hey, John might play in this game. And I thought, that's probably, run him out there for a couple minutes, see how he does. And then it kind of occurred to me that would be foolish, knowing what I know about him, in that you can't just roll him out and go, all right, 2 minutes. Like, he's got to be ready to go pretty much full tilt, doesn't he?
Well, like you just said, if we all know John, and when John's about as competitive as it gets. So just trying to put a time restriction on him, I don't think that's going to go over pretty well. So he came in with the mindset, if he's ready to play, if he can play, he wants to play. So thankfully we were able to get him out a little bit earlier because we were playing well. But yeah, he was prepared to play as many minutes as we needed him to play.
Do you think that even though they had seen him working out, trying to get back, even in practices, guys like Jalen Bridges, Caleb Lohner, some of the new, even Keontae George, was it kind of, you think they were blown away by what they actually saw Saturday?
I don't think they were blown away. I think they experienced it in practice. They felt his energy. They understand how physical he is, how much passion he plays with. So I think once he was out there on the court with them, instead of them having to try to box him out in practice and try to, bang around on him in practice, them actually going to battle with him, I think just gave them a little bit of an extra boost. But I don't think they were surprised. They know what he brings every single day, even when he wasn't in practice every single day. They just know what he brings from just a physical standpoint and just a leadership standpoint.
Jared Nunes, again, Baylor men's basketball assistant coach with us on 365 Sports Oklahoma on Wednesday. So, this conference, we know it's the best conference in America. We know what the score was basically against the SEC in that challenge. But the top team now has 3 losses. You guys in Kansas at times have been able to kind of run through the conference, at least in recent years, and not have many losses. How do you as an assistant coach describe what you see on an everyday basis in this league?
Just heavyweight bouts, man. Frazier and Ali. I just think that's why you got to take it one game at a time. You can't look ahead. Any one of these teams in this league, you can lose any single night. So you just got to take it, one game at a time. You have to prepare one game at a time. You can't go into it, trying to think about what you did last game or what they did against somebody else last game, because we got great coaches who make great adjustments like we do. So it literally is just one game at a time. And, it's an honor to play in the Big 12. We got great coaches, great teams, but it's a tough league. You lose a lot of sleep. You got to prepare, and it's tough, but it's fun though. I mean, we wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, this is what you play for. This is what college basketball is all about. So just playing in the best conference in the country is a joy for us.
Jared, what's the difference when a game is your game to scout, to do that work ahead, scout, prep, whatever, compared to any other game?
No sleep. Wife's mad. The kids are mad. Don't spend a lot of time with the family for about 24 to 48 hours. But just not being able to turn your mind off, because you want to have the team prepared, you want to have the staff prepared, and of course we do things together. But when it's your scout, you just want to make sure that you covered all your bases and that you put the guys in position to be successful as much as you can. So I love it, but it's also it can be pretty nerve-wracking and stressful. But like I said, I wouldn't have it any other way.
So do you have tips and tricks, or do you just know that when it starts, that this day or two, this is how it's going to be, and then you can just move on to the next one and wait until it's your turn in the rotation again?
Yeah, I mean, I started to get a little bit of routine just as far as, setting certain, my alarm for certain times when I want to sleep, and just eating right and getting my guys that work with me, my GAs, and having a schedule. And so I kind of have it down now when I'm trying to prepare. And then the tough part is when you got 2 back-to-back or one day in between, that becomes pretty tough. But you get used to it. And I think the biggest thing is just making sure you stay ahead of the curve. So even if I know I have one, let's say on Wednesday, in the game Saturday, I just try to stay ahead of the curve.
We spoke with Coach Drew about this. Jalen Bridges seemed like after West Virginia, even during that game, that once that game kind of got off his plate emotionally, whatever, that he just kind of changed. Do you kind of sense that too?
Absolutely. I think that just him being in that environment and him showing the mental toughness and what he had to kind of go through during those 2 hours up in West Virginia. And then the fact that he played well and we won the game, I think it just gave him a little bit more confidence. And ever since then, he's just kind of been skyrocketing and playing really well. So happy for him. Want him to continue. And the good thing with him is he's such a student. He wants to learn. We watch film all the time. He wants to improve. So as long as he keeps that attitude up, I think you're going to see him continue to grow and have a great finish to the year.
Baylor, Oklahoma tomorrow night. Jared, one more question, and thanks for your time today. This team has changed, and it doesn't mean that tomorrow's easy. It doesn't mean anything like that in the Big 12. Even the SEC game with Arkansas, we know what was that like. Oh, that was like to see this team growing up in front of you and meshing, the chemistry, getting John back, all that. Is it kind of hard to imagine how much better you are now than you were perhaps 2 or 3 weeks ago?
I wouldn't say it's harder. I think for us, we feel like we're a really a good offensive team. We feel like, we're as good as anybody in the country offensively. We got a lot of weapons. We got a lot of talent. And I think when we play what we like to say the Baylor way, sharing the basketball, making things simple, trying not to take tough shots, we're pretty hard to beat offensively, hard to stop offensively. But what we need to really continue to improve on, and what the goal is for us, is just to become much, much better defensively. That's our focus. That's on that side of the ball. That's where we want to make the most improvements from now until March. And if we can do that, we like our chances of making a deep run in both tournaments and finishing strong at the end of the Big 12 season.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate your time. Go back to not sleeping and do what you do, getting ready for game. We appreciate all the time you give us. Jared Nunes, again, Baylor men's basketball coach, with us on 365. I don't think you could understand, unless you were there, the energy, the explosion, the excitement, the relief when Jonathan Chachua came in the game. And then to have the success he had was emotional, and you don't know, uplifting. As Scott Drew even put up on Twitter, it's a miracle. And in a matter of, less than a year, he's back after that gruesome injury against Texas. Thanks to Jared Nunes. Thank you for his time. Baylor hosts Oklahoma women's basketball tonight, men's basketball tomorrow, back-to-back nights at the Ferrell Center. When we come back, speaking of Baylor, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades. This is 365 Sports.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
What are you waiting for? Next year's New Year's resolution to lose weight, get fit, start working out? 3, 2, 1, go to Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. If you really want to get in shape, get rid of weight or inches, you have to make a commitment to work out. End the excuses of not enough time, you're too tired or too busy. There's a special place that will change your life at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco. And they have a commitment to you too. With personal trainers Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alex Bosch. State-of-the-art Cybex equipment, new weights and spin bikes, clean and spacious locker rooms, each with a whirlpool and sauna, and a staff that will know your name when you walk through the front door. Elite tennis facilities and a great tennis pro in Britt Coleman. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a place you can call home, a place you can work out on your own or with 40-plus group exercise classes. It's time for you to get in shape, lose inches, get fit at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozers and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiancé deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozers. Boozers Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
This is 365 Sports. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
We're live in Phoenix, Convention Center, NFL Media Headquarters, Radio Row, the week of Super Bowl 57, Eagles and Chiefs. And, of course, we discussed part of that game, but so much more, thanks to Jared Nunes, Baylor basketball, for his time a moment ago. We're now joined by Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, with us on 365 Sports. Mack, thank you very much for your time. What were the emotions going through you when Jonathan Tchamwa came and checked into the game on Saturday?
Yeah, pretty emotional. I think like many, just had to fight back some emotions, some tears. And I knew it was happening. I knew that he was going to play, didn't know exactly when. He'd get the call, knew it'd be, he'd be the first big man off the bench and, it'd be sometime in the first half. But it's just, it's an unbelievable story. And when you know him and you see the journey that he's been on, since the injury against Texas a year ago, it's amazing. And, the ups and downs of the journey, I certainly remember, whether it was a few days after the injury that, finding and hearing that it just wasn't, ligament damage. It was other, that included the nerve and, now this prognosis of being out for 2 years and literally, 357 days, later, he's back playing again. And for all of us that know JT, I think we would all unanimously say that there's no other student athlete that we would have bet against in terms of making it back that soon. I mean, he's unbelievable, and his work ethic is just off the charts.
Mack, I mentioned this to Jared Nunes in the last segment, but, a lot of times when somebody's had an injury like that, their first, foray into the game is, he gets to play a minute here, the first stoppage comes out, okay, that's fine, a minute here, a minute there, maybe 4 or 5 total minutes in the game, but not really consecutively, just kind of rotating in. But with a guy like John, you can't just go, all right, you've got about 90 seconds if it goes right, if the ball doesn't go out of bounds. You've got to pretty much let him off and go.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was, JT's call in terms of just how comfortable he was out there and, could he go, for a little bit, not a minute, but, 4 or 5 minutes. And, he felt great out there. And, he's just, I know we get focused on the physical abilities, but, I'm just watching this thing play out. And our huddles are different. During a break in action, right, where the clock stops, just him gathering the team together, whether it's right before foul shots or something else. I mean, it's just the leadership, the command, and the respect that he has on the floor. The individual conversations, side conversations that he has with some of our players, with Keontae, with some others. He brings this whole added dimension, to our team. And then, certainly, his actions speak louder than his words, and the way he performs and competes and, everything is 100%. And, our players don't know what they don't know. And so all of a sudden you see that and you're like, man, I've got to match that. I've got to do and play at least as hard as what he's playing. So, he provides a boost for our team in so many different ways.
Mack, the Big 12 meetings last week, and obviously on the agenda, Gonzaga on the agenda, or discussion was something about what's going to happen with Texas and Oklahoma and the possibility of them leaving early. You'd kind of get different perspective that it's dead in the water to Brett Yormark even saying, no, it's a constant negotiation. What is your gut feeling on what's going to happen?
Yeah, my gut is, we'll find a sweet spot, and I think that's going to happen, sooner rather than later. And sometimes you get to a point, place, and time where you have what I would call deal fatigue, and everybody that's involved is just tired, right? And they're fed up and they're frustrated, and so you've got to pause maybe for 24, 48 hours. Let emotions get back in check, and I think that's probably what happened. As we got closer to the end of the week, I think everybody's willing. When you think about all the parties involved, the two conferences, Big 12, SEC, the two media partners, Fox and ESPN, and then you talk about certainly OU and Texas, and so. I think everybody's willing, and my gut says that we'll get to the right place probably sooner rather than later, and OU and Texas will go on with their life a year early, and we, the Big 12, the 12 of us, will be able to move forward and continue to what I think is building this really, really special conference that is going to be as good as anybody in college athletics, and certainly as good as anybody when we think about the Power Five.
One quick follow-up. You're talking after 22-20 or 23-24 that's your gut feeling that would be it?
Yeah, I think, my gut is, again, if you were having to ask me, that this upcoming season, this 23 football season, 23-24 academic year would be their last. And then we would move on, and so that means that they would end up leaving a year early. They wouldn't participate in the 24-25 academic year, like what was originally planned, like when they were contracted to be a member of the Big 12 until again, I think my gut says that we'll get to a place where they'll leave a year early, and I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later.
I think from like outsiders' perspectives, I think we probably all hear like there's a very loud ticking clock on this. Obviously there is. I mean, you have to get it done by a certain time or there's a point of no return, but that's not necessarily ticking as fast as maybe people in the outside world would say, Mack.
Yeah, I mean, somebody told me the other day, and I didn't go and fact check it, but when Missouri left for the SEC, I mean, that was, literally in December, and they were, that following year, were participating in the SEC. And so not an ideal situation, and not something that, we'd like to do, because look, we've got 4 new members, coming in, and we want some clarity of who's in the league and what the league's going to be like and how we brand and market it. But, there's not this, huge sense of urgency. I think if it doesn't get done here in the, in a timely manner here, within the next week, right, then I think it's probably a pause for a while, and people just, rethink some things and probably need some separation and not really have to talk about it for a little while. Again, my gut says we'll get something done.
Is there any chance, Mack, and you're one of, 12 ADs that are not a part of Texas and Oklahoma, and obviously Brett Yormark and his administration, there are figures that have been tossed around, exit fees, early exit, whatever it is. I know a lot of it can be legally negotiated, whatever. Can you imagine is there any chance the Big 12 would just say, screw it, we need to move on? They're not going to give up this thing, are they? Where they're not going to get a big fat check from both before they leave?
Yeah, I think that, one, that's a really complicated question, and there's certainly precedent out there when, other schools have left the leagues early, and, precedent states and says that, it's what those institutions have owed, they've really only ended up paying, 60% of what they really owed because of all of the legal ramifications, et cetera, and whether, you go to mediation and, where does it go to court and what state and all of those things. And, what I will tell you is if we get this thing done, I think it will be fair. It'll be fair to the Big 12. It'll be fair to everyone involved. I think everybody is going to and will have to give a little bit. But I think we, the Big 12, can feel good about, where this lands and the fact that we can move on.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics, with us on 365 Sports. You were discussing earlier about John Machachua as far as his leadership and what you saw, breaks, whatever, timeouts. As someone that runs a department, how long did it take for you, or when did you start to understand or be able to recognize somebody who's a leader, not because they were the loudest, but because of their actions and what they produced?
I think if you were, talking about him specifically, I think, we knew that. We knew that last year when we lost him to the injury. Certainly it was a big blow, his physical presence and what he does on the basketball floor. But we also knew it was a big blow to the locker room. It was a big blow, to not have him practice, every day with the team. These last 2 to 3 weeks, probably him practicing with the team has been, I think, instrumental in terms of, getting our guys better and better prepared to play in our games. And so, you knew it. You knew it was such a big loss. And, it makes it, even harder. It was a hole in your heart because he's such a great young man. And he's not a great young man because he's a great basketball player. Those two are completely different things. He is just he could be, he couldn't play basketball at all, and he would be a great person. He is just he's an unbelievable human being, very, very thoughtful. Everything centers around Christ. And he's got such great perspective on things. He's got the maturity level to handle all of this. There's a lot of pressure on him, as you can imagine, people wanting him to return, and all with great intent. But, he's, being asked, how many different times has he asked, when will you return? Mm-hmm. How are you feeling? All of those things. And he's handled it so exceptionally well, and is, again, a great person, and he's a great leader. And, oh, by the way, he's a pretty good basketball player as well.
Yeah, Mack, I like to think of him as we all need these people in our lives, whatever we're doing, but he's the what's your excuse guy. I mean, just not the way he would say it, the way like you said, the way he carries himself, like, oh, I don't want to play this hard, or I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. Well, I mean, he's doing it like, I don't think I can fake my way through this anymore. I've got to either match his intensity or leave. Like, that is, you can't coach it, you can't teach it. It's just one of those things that happens, right?
Yeah, we talk about standards within the athletic department, and we've got a standard. It's a high standard, and we strive each and every day to try to meet it. And some days we fall short, and the days that you fall short, you got to figure out why you fall short and correct, and the next day get up and try to meet that standard. And I think with Jonathan, practicing with Jonathan, on the floor during games, Jonathan in the huddle, he sets a new standard for our basketball program. He just does. And now all of a sudden it makes everybody reach, for this higher standard than what they've been reaching for. And that's the impact that Jonathan has, in my opinion. And I don't think, I think those people are special. I don't think, that's everyone. I think those are the special leaders out there. And, that's exactly what he is. He's a really special person, special leader. And, he's going to be, he's going to be 100% standard, elite standard in everything he does. And now, you as a teammate, you see it and you now know and understand what it looks like. And hey, I want to be like that. I want to match that.
Mack, one more thing about the Big 12 in the future. Considering where everything was in July of 2021 and how the conference responded, then Bob Bowlesby, and where the conference is now, obviously Texas and Oklahoma bring a hell of a lot to the table and the impact that they've had. But is the conference, in your opinion, because you've had time for it to marinate, stabilize, others having success, TCU, you, whoever else, and those incoming teams, is the conference in a lot better? Is like a huge difference being able to move forward without them than they would have been a couple of years ago?
I certainly think so. Let me ask you, right? The two last, national championships in basketball were not Oklahoma and Texas, or Baylor and Kansas. The last, 4 teams to play last 2 years in the football championship game, it was Baylor and Oklahoma State. It was TCU and Kansas State. And so I think there's a lot to be proud of in terms of the Big 12 and the remaining 8. And then I think there's great excitement about the 4 coming in, and I think they are great value-added, exceptional programs. And so, I think, the Big 12 is standing strong on its own 2 feet. And, I've said this, about Baylor Athletics. Our best days are still ahead of us, and continue to remain fervent in that and believe that with all my might. And but I also think that the Big 12, our best days are ahead of us. And just think about some of the things. The new TV agreement with ESPN and Fox. We're the only Power 5 that will be with both of those broadcast companies. We jumped in front of another Power 5. We started behind and we jumped in front of another Power 5, and those two TV partners wanted to get us signed up. They don't do that unless they believe in your membership, the composition of the conference, and your future. And so I think we're in a really good spot. And again, we know that we've got to continue to work hard and grow and find our niche. But I think we're really, really well positioned for the future.
Thank you, Mack. We appreciate your time. And tonight, the women in what is a critical game because of the huge win in Ames. I think there's going to be a pretty large sellout. I've seen others trying to get people at the Farrell Center tonight, which would be a nice win against another top 20 team. And then, obviously, Oklahoma men tomorrow night. The thought of Nikki Collin, and I've been watching more and more of her post games, like afterwards, and you could see her. Can't you kind of see that little chip on the shoulder and how it's developing amongst the program and the girls and her players in what they're trying to fight for?
Yeah, Nikki's doing a great job, and it's it was challenging last year for different circumstances, and then it's been challenging this year when 2 of your probably top 4 players haven't been able to play, or one of them has been able to play just a couple games. You're starting or you're playing a lot. 2 freshmen, Dariana and Bella, and you're finding a way, and you're getting better each game, and that was a big time win, as you mentioned, on the road in a really great environment at Iowa State, and they have one of the best home court environments in all of the country. And so, now an opportunity to play, a great game tonight against number 16 Oklahoma, and certainly looking forward to it. And just, again, proud of Nikki and her staff and our student athletes. They have really worked hard. They've shut out all the outside noise, and they're focused on themselves, and they're focused on getting better each and every day.
Thank you, Mack. Appreciate your time. Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, with us. A quick turnaround here. We'll hear from Eric Kramer in a story, former quarterback. 91 NFC Championship game. Detroit lost to Washington. But his story of what's been unbelievable tragedy in his life, including his own life, that somehow he lives today to talk about it. We'll have and discuss it right here with us on Radio Row. That's coming up next. Garrett, I know you cover the women. You're not there tonight. They beat Iowa State. That was probably unexpected because at times hit and miss. Mm-hmm. They beat Oklahoma in Norman, which I know Nikki remembered last year when they lost twice to OU. OU is explosive. Texas has kind of risen to the top of the conference now. And that's not a surprise with Vic Schaefer doing what he's doing. What would a back-to-back top 20 win for Baylor and the women, not just for the Big 12, but also just in general?
I mean, I think it means a lot. You start to see them finding themselves and find their groove, but to me, they go as Jaden Owens goes, and when she scores, they win. That's just really what it ultimately comes down to, and it's really, she's had to do some soul searching over the past couple of games. She's starting to get back into it. The emergence of Jamie Asbury as well has played a key role in that, but to me, the most unique thing and what makes this team so gritty is the way that, like, Caitlin Bickle plays away from the ball, the little things, the basketball IQ of drawing a charge at necessary moments, and being able to play with 4 fouls and not foul out, for long periods of time throughout the fourth quarter is really significant. And when they have Dariana Little-Page-Buggs rolling, as well as Bella Fauntleroy, Bella's really starting to come into her own as well and grow. And I think when you see this cohesiveness come together, they're going to be a really difficult team for anybody to beat. And if they are able to get Asia Blackwell back, I mean, you got to watch out. And another thing is they're doing this without Kendra Gillespie. Like, right. She's been – we've been told, personal issues or whatever, but it's been about 3 weeks now. So they're dealing with a limited roster with, short bench. It would mean a lot.
All right, they beat Iowa State, Oklahoma tonight at home at the Farrell Center. One other note in women's basketball, South Carolina beat UConn. It was a tight game. They play unbeaten LSU. Yep, Kim Mulkey and the Tigers on Sunday in a battle will be two teams ranked in the top 5 with games, each of them having a game this week. When we come back, the Eric Kramer story that I did not know about, and hopefully you will now know soon right here on 365 Sports. We're in Phoenix.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
There are 20 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
We're joined by former Lions quarterback Eric Kramer, Paul Catalina, Eric Kramer, David Smoak on 365 Sports in Phoenix. We were just reminiscing about the team you were a part of. Beat Dallas, I think, in the playoffs, and then Washington in the championship got you. Last time the Lions snipped, you're the only Lions quarterback in like 60-something years to win a playoff game?
That's sad.
Yeah, well, no, it is. And it also, the last time
that's going to last
not for
much
you.
longer.
Not for you.
No. But I'm thinking like next year the Lions break that streak finally.
Yeah, Washington hasn't done anything since then either. Really,
No.
they've had a couple of teams, but nothing like that. Man, I got to tell you, your story is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Your story, So let's start.
If it weren't real, it would be.
No, yeah, that you're here and telling the story. It's about depression. It's about adversity. If you don't, you tried to kill yourself.
I did, and that's the one great. That's my favorite failure. Was that one?
Yeah. That's a great way to describe that. That is a great way to describe that.
And so, you know, I think in life, heck, we've all been through, you know, if you live past 25, 30, 35, you're going to encounter some obstacles in life, right? Even as a kid. But all good stories involve getting over something. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that something is bigger than other somethings. And I think what I've learned is that there's a whole willing support system around me that at times I didn't know was there. And now that I do, and now that I have perspective of someone who has shot themselves and then am still here to tell the story, I couldn't be more grateful that every day my feet hit the floor, there's something new to live for.
What was the thing when you came out of it?
Yeah.
And we're in recovery, and you realized, okay, I'm still here, that made you want to stay?
I quite honestly, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I wish it, I shouldn't say this. My experience was that there wasn't like a day and, oh, I'm back. Mm-hmm. It happens over time. There's 2 or 3 or 4 years in there that I'm a little fuzzy on anything that happened. Mm-hmm. And you just, in fact, there was a time when I was at a brain trauma recovery clinic, not knowing why I was actually there. Mm-hmm. And my now girlfriend, who wasn't then, or my sister, or my aunt, I'm like, why am I here? And they're like, Eric, the doctors have told you this. I go, no, they're not.
Didn't you have a doctor one time you went back for a follow-up to reset something, and he kind of was staring at you blankly because he never thought he would see you again?
Yeah, right.
I think it was to repair part of what had happened with the skull.
Yeah, yeah. So as part of the surgery that night, this was back in 2015, and as they're beginning to sort of pull everything back, my brain started to swell. Mm. So they had to leave it open, and they had to come back a couple days later and actually put what is now not a real skull in there. And obviously, months and months and many months later, I'm in the doctor's office, and he's asking me a couple questions, and I'm answering him, and I look up, and I see his jaw was like on the floor. I'm like, did I say something wrong? He goes, no, I'm sorry. And I just, people like you don't come back.
Yeah.
And so, welcome.
To tell the story, and there's reasons people get depressed, and you could have everything you want in life, and you were depressed in a way even when you were playing as a quarterback with the Lions and lost your job because you got hurt or whatever. But your son died of an overdose, heroin, and you started seeing other things fracture around your family and all that. I mean, people can learn from, you can tell the ultimate story of depression and the survival of it.
Yeah, well, the thing about depression or anxiety or anything that happens that kind of gets you off kilter, it doesn't wait for a lull in your life, and and so it happens in your everyday, and you have to get through that. And it's not like you go stop by the therapist's office on your way to work that morning, and so this is something you learn how to kind of forge your way through. And I remember it was actually with the Bears in '94, and here I am getting recruited to go there, get hurt early in the season, come back, and now I'm healthy to play a few weeks later, but not playing.
Right.
And not doing what I was hired to do. And so that was my first experience with, I don't know if I can get out of bed today. And I remember my mom flying out, and for a few days, and it was a big deal. And, eventually I got on some antidepressant medication and started, seeing someone professionally, and just kind of slowly, and even more slowly inching my way back. And there's no quick fix. There's not some magic pill you can take and voila, here you are again. And so it's a series, and so it's, while depression and anxiety have not been a constant companion of mine, they do show up from time to time. And certainly, as you had mentioned, Griffin, who had a drug issue, that was identified about 10th grade, middle of his 10th grade year, and by the time he was 18, it resurfaced again, and he died of a heroin overdose. And that was probably that was the deepest sadness in life I'd ever experienced.
My mom and dad lost our sister at a very young age, and I don't know until they passed away in 2015 if they ever recover.
I'm not sure.
I don't know you ever do.
I'm not sure.
You've been through it as my sibling. And I don't know if they're the two sweetest people you could ever want on this earth, but I don't,
Yep. And so there's an aftermath to the people who don't go. And so, and then, prior to Griffin passing away, my mom, earlier that year, was diagnosed. The day she was diagnosed, it was stage 4 uterine cancer. And so then she somehow survives what should have been a lethal surgery, only to then eventually pass away after Griffin did that next July. And around that time, my dad had some non-treated acid reflux that developed into terminal esophageal cancer, which itself was about a 3 or so year, it wasn't an up and down march, it was a straight down march, but gradual descent. And so there came a time when, during all this time, I had a passing camp going for high school kids and was in broadcasting, and all of that came to a screeching halt. And, I went off on my own there for a while. And it wasn't a long while, and there was a certain day where I had a gun and purchased one, and I don't even remember all the facts of what happened that day. And all I know is that I did shoot myself, and apparently a friend of mine who I'd gone to high school with was at LA County Sheriff's back then. And I guess I texted him. And he called over to the Lost Hills Sheriff's Department, which was not down the street from where I was. And I don't remember anything that happened, but apparently he called the room I was in and said, "Eric, whatever you got in your hand, drop it." And he said he heard something hit the floor, and he said, "There's somebody at your door right now." So apparently I got up and opened the door, and it was, I don't know who it was, but I walked down into an ambulance, I guess, and off I went.
You had shot yourself.
Yeah.
If someone's watching, and everybody has their moments, as you've mentioned, of depression, anxiety, whatever the words are, the phrases, what do they do? What do you suggest? Just call somebody?
Sure.
Call a friend, call family, call somebody that handles that?
Yeah. Well, so now, today, I have X amount of people that I know I can share anything that's going on at any time with. Well, because I've got a very well-known story. But at the same time, I suggest, because everybody walking this planet from one day to the next is going to have some issues, that if you keep yourself isolated, in fact, you actually are the worst person to consult with. So there's going to be somebody else that's got a little bit more perspective than you do. And whoever that is in your life, whether it be a friend, a brother, a sister, a parent, whoever that person is, a professional therapist, seek out someone else. And hopefully that's kind of a course of your day anyway.
All right, go ahead, Paul.
No one walks through the world alone if you allow yourself not to, right? I mean, is that what you're kind of saying? Is like you can try to go it alone, but we're not meant to.
We are not. And I think that's, there's a program that I'm trying to get launched off the ground now for these last couple of years, which we're going to call Mental Health Touchdown, and start with kids. And start with 4th, 5th, and 6th graders in an after-school program, hopefully by this coming August. And, there's a curriculum in place, and there's a woman that's going to help launch it with me in schools, or probably an after-school program. And the tail end of elementary and just the beginning of middle school. And, probably pick one of each in the area that we both live, and start working with kids and kind of developing what they see around them in other people that they admire, characteristics they admire, at age-appropriate levels.
Football question.
Yes, sir.
91, hell of a team, as we talked about. Washington beat you. Dallas was on the up. I mean, I think Aikman was even hurt that year in 91, and Berline might have been their quarterback. Did you see then what they were about to be?
Oh, yeah.
Could you? Because they turned into a dynasty. They had that run.
They did. And then so that was, right, the 91 season. The 92 season, we played them in a preseason game in London. And that team put on a facelift. And all of a sudden, they were 8 deep at every position.
Uh-huh.
And it was you could see it then. That they already had something going on pretty good to begin with.
Now they had an edge. And
now the train was rolling down the hill.
You wonder if free agency had not taken over.
Right.
Had they won 4 out of 5 or whatever. Now, Patrick Mahomes, a picture of him on the wall. You have Brady just retired. You have Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and all these names.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts has done a great job this year. Quarterback today, your thoughts about the game, the quarterback position today?
Well, I don't think it's changed a whole lot. It's how well can you process what you see and then deliver to who needs the ball. Can you move people around the field that need to be moved? There's usually typically one guy in a zone defense that you need to move. You either need to keep him where he's at, or you need to use the people around that are on your team to move him one direction or another. And that's the game that the guys you just mentioned all play.
Yep, absolutely. They do it.
All right. I have 2 Barry Sanders questions for you.
Yes.
One, when you're quarterbacking with Barry Sanders and you hand him the ball.
Best ticket
in the
house.
Yeah. Now, did you have to sometimes go, oh, maybe I have to go help him out? Or you just kind of lay back like, I'm just going to watch whatever's going on here?
There was a great game we played in, this is pre-Manning in Indianapolis. And Rodney's playing quarterback. And he hands the ball to Barry going off to the right. This is about on the 40-yard line or so going in. And he reverses field. Before he even gets past Rodney coming the other way, Rodney's got his hands up in the air.
Wow. He knows.
You could just see it happen. No one's going to catch that
There was
guy.
a playoff game against Dallas where he just was it was like he's a video game before there were video games. And a phenomenal human being too.
My other question about it is, if you mentioned that quarterback is the same, offenses are a lot different. If you could move Barry Sanders around like they do now, what would we have been looking at?
Wow. Well, he would have had to have been – so one thing he was not great at was running routes. Mm-hmm. And he really wasn't great with the ball not in his hands. And so I'm not sure what kind of route run – I don't think – if you're getting at would he be today's Christian McCaffrey, no.
Okay.
And he was literally – I don't even think he would have been as good as Emmitt Smith in that offense. Because Emmitt was able to kind of get a hard 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah.
And that wasn't Barry's game. Mm-hmm. Barry would rather lose 1 trying to get 40 than gain 4.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then Smith was he was deadly enough out of the backfield on the swing passes and all that. EKPass12.com is the website. We have Fort Hood is right in our backyard from our main location in Central Texas. Also, the U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, and I know the servicemen and women and what they deal with on an everyday basis. We'll try to pass this along to them.
Love it.
Too. Eric, great
Appreciate
to see
it,
you, man.
Yep.
Eric Kramer, former NFL. We are back in Phoenix. Super Bowl 57, Chiefs and Eagles on Sunday. What a day we've had so far. NFL Media Headquarters, and now joined by the best high school all-around athlete I've ever seen, and he also was a heck of a player in college at Notre Dame in the NFL. Bobby Taylor joins us. Paul Catalina, David Smoak on 365 Sports. How are you doing, Bobby?
Guys, how you doing? I'm great. I wish I could be there in person with you. I'm probably about 3 blocks away from you, but it's good to get on the phone with you all and catch up.
Last time, if you'll recall, that I saw you was down in Tampa at the Super Bowl 55. Yes, Tampa beat, obviously, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. You were at a dinner having lunch with some Tequila Spikes and others. So
yes, yep.
Are you in Phoenix because of the alumni of the Philadelphia Eagles, or are you here on business? Because I know you're an entrepreneur.
Well, first, I'm here on business because I do consulting work now for the NFL, and so we have a lot of youth activations going on. As a matter of fact, I'm with Tequila now because one of our good friends and one of my teammates in Philadelphia, Troy Vincent, him and his wife, has a nonprofit. In every Super Bowl city, they adopt an elementary school, and so we go over there. And, I mean, we've been there since 7 this morning. Just finished probably about 30 minutes ago.
All right, so Troy Vincent, you, Brian Dawkins was with you, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to think of anybody whose post-football career in that secondary hasn't gone really, really well, Bobby. You guys not only were pretty damn good, you're pretty darn successful as well.
Well, it's a blessing. I think the best part about that is the same way we pushed each other on the field, we pushed each other off the field. And when we had a brother that needed some help, just like on the field, we try to help them out off the field as well. And so it's deeper than just football for us, just because we're essentially brothers. Because I played 8 years together with Troy. I played 8 years together with Brian Dawkins as well. And so, you know, we just try to uplift each other. We know we were blessed to, you know, play as long as we were able to play. But, you know, hopefully we still can have long and successful lives after football as well.
Eagles team that this year, now I know that they've got the Super Bowl in their back pocket, you know, from a couple of years ago, but this is almost a completely different team. What's it like to watch a completely rebuilt team, a new team, new quarterback, almost all the way down except for some of the old wily veterans like Jason Kelsey, be back in this game and be maybe the best pound-for-pound team talent-wise in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, you have to take your hats off to the ownership, Jeffrey Lurie. You have to take your hats off to Howie Roseman to be able to go out and make the type of moves that he's been able to make, because you can think, like, even without some of the additions that we added during the season, like Ndamukong Suh and some of the other defensive linemen, I mean, we still had a pretty talented team. And so just to see those type of moves being made, it's, as a fan, because I'm a fan as well, it makes you appreciate, you know, what your team is bringing to the table to try to put the best product out there on the field each and every week.
Bobby, if you're on a team and you have a chance, for example, the Rams went and found a home run hitter or two as far as on either side of the ball, what Philadelphia's done, you mentioned Ndamukong Suh has now become kind of that would be a major piece, 1-year deal. If you have a chance and you're a player, whether you're a second-year guy or a ninth-year guy, do you go and do that no matter what it means a year or two from now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you would just look at what the Rams did last year. I mean, they did that, and, you know, unfortunately, you know, they aren't in the playoffs this year. They're sitting at home. But I just think with this day and age of athletics and things of that nature, you have to put it out there each and every year, because you never know what's going to happen in future years. And so, I mean, I like the mentality, but the good thing about what the Eagles, I think, have done, even outside of after this season, they still should have a lot of those guys on and signed, and they should still be successful next year as well. But they're not taking that for granted, and so they're out there just making deals left and right, and I love it.
When you were playing for the Eagles, and after growing up in East Texas, how many lifelong friends did that turn into a huge conflict within themselves, where they were always going to root for you, but you were still a Philadelphia Eagle, and that just it's hard to do that math?
Oh, I mean, you sound like you probably heard some of my past interviews. Because, I mean, folks would always say, "Hey, we want you to do." Even my relatives. It's good and bad, right? Because early on in my career, when I came back, when we were playing in Texas Stadium at the time, I used to try to get as many tickets as possible just because I wanted other folks that I grew up with, a lot of my family, to experience that as well. But, it took my grandmother probably 3 or 4 years into the league when she was like, "Baby, I want you to stop buying all of those tickets." I was like, "Why?" She was like, "Some of your uncles, some of your cousins, some of your friends, they want you to do well, but they still want those doggone Cowboys to win the game." I said, "You know what, grandmother, say less." And it saved me a lot of money too. So hey.
Well, listen, that's a weird thing. Yeah. Like, Bobby, we want you to achieve almost all of your dreams. But
right.
one.
But you know what? Yeah. But you know what's crazy about that, right? I actually know guys, some of my peers, I'm not going to call their names, that went to college, had successful collegiate careers, got drafted, played in the league multiple years, and you know what? They've never played for the Cowboys, but in their post-life or post-football career in retirement, they're Cowboy fans. I'm like, go figure that. Like, how does that happen? You've never even played for the Cowboys. And, in retirement, you're a Cowboy fan. Like, I don't see how that adds up.
Bobby, what were your thoughts when you saw DeMar Hamlin and that story, and obviously off the field, the Peyton Hillis story, which was frightening as well, when he saved his own children and almost because of it lost his life as just a proud alum of the National Football League?
Yeah, so, we have a lot of programs that we have in place for former players, and, one of those things are as far as getting help when you need to talk to someone, right? And so seeing that play out on live television, I was speechless. Luckily I was by myself. My kids weren't beside me, so I didn't have to explain that to them at the time, just because I was trying to take it all in and process it myself. So, that was tough. And then when you think about Peyton Hillis' situation where, I have 3 boys, and, I would do anything to, let them continue their lives and essentially sacrifice yourself. And so that was something that, he did. I'm lucky that, he's lucky, and we're all lucky when you think about the alumni community, that he's doing better and DeMar's doing better as well. But, those were just some of those, I would say, I guess, rare instances as far as things that happen on live television that you just wish wouldn't have happened. But, by the grace of God, both of those men are doing well right now.
Bobby, when you played the game, was there ever a snap when you didn't think you were going to either deflect a ball, knock a ball down, or pick it off?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say so. Just because, you put the work in, not just on the practice field, but in the classroom as well, as far as studying, making sure that you knew the game plan each week. And, I just had confidence in myself. And, with the talent, with the work ethic and studying as well, I always felt like if the ball was up in the air, I had a better chance or just as strong a chance to be able to get it as opposed to the receiver on offense.
Bobby Taylor, Eagles, Seahawks, Notre Dame, Lobos.
Longview Lobos, baby.
Longview Lobos.
How many times in your career in Philly, and I'm sure there were times where they gave it to you guys as well, because those fans are they have high standards for what they want. They don't put up with any mess. But how many times did something happen and you go, man, I'm really glad those are our fans and I'm not playing for these other guys right now?
Oh, so many times. So many times. Listen, it's funny you mention it. I was talking to a gentleman earlier that said he was from Philly and he lives down here in Arizona now. And I was like, listen, these boys better get off to an early start or fast start on Sunday, because if there's a certain amount of Eagles fans in the stadium in the Super Bowl, they may lose. But hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm not trying to wish that on the guys. I really feel like they've had a great season and a great playoff. They put themselves in a great position to go out and be world champions.
Bobby, appreciate your time, man. Was there ever a sport that you didn't master that you wanted to?
You know what? I think from a sport and athletic standpoint, I think if there was something that I wouldn't necessarily say I didn't master it, but I regret just slightly that when I was in college, I didn't also play basketball.
Yeah.
Just because I knew I had the talent. But, unfortunately, having a long season as a freshman, going to the Cotton Bowl, beating up on Texas A&M, and, I was just, my body was just beat up. As a freshman, unfortunately, I was able to get a lot of playing time and start at the second half of the season. But that's probably the biggest thing that I wish if I could have back. That's why I talk to so many kids these days where you see them specialize. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why would you specialize? Especially you just in junior high, or you just in sometimes elementary. I'm like, look, play every sport that you can, just because all of those skills are transferable. I started off as a safety when I went to Notre Dame. I played and started in my freshman year, but in spring ball, out of the blue, Coach Hope came to me and said, hey, Bobby, we're having some issues at corner. We just want to try you at corner in the scrimmage. And so I played corner in the scrimmage, and that was the last time I ever played safety in my life. So imagine I played corner as a sophomore on varsity in Longview. Then I played safety my junior year, safety my senior year, number one safety in the country. Go to Notre Dame as a safety and play. And so that's kind of like my football testimony, especially when I talk to these kids, because I'm like, you know what, just be ready. You never know what positions you're going to be in, and playing multiple sports, I think puts you in a better position to be able to do and get some of those transferable skills.
What's Lou Holtz like when he's mad?
Man, you got to make sure you're at least probably 5 or 10 feet away from him, because he's probably spitting everywhere. At the time, he used to smoke a pipe and all of those types of things. But, yeah, he was definitely tough. Something I know that I felt like I embraced it totally. The majority of the guys on our team embraced it. But, I mean, he taught us so much, just about some of the rivalries that we played against the teams. And it just made you appreciate, like, okay, being in this position is something that you guys should never take for granted. Because when it's over, if you don't, use all of the resources and all of the time that you have, you're going to be looking back on it like, dang, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. But, yeah, Coach Holtz is great.
Wow, that's a great story. You hear about kids today. You were at one time in your life, kids today. I was back, and I'm older. When you are discussing life and consulting with these young kids today, are they listening to you the way you want them to?
I hope so. Only thing I can do is, when those opportunities present themselves, just try to pour myself into them. I would hope, just from my resume, the experiences, some of the things that I've been able to do. If I was a younger guy and someone like myself with the resume, wanted to take some time out to talk to me, I would do any and everything I could to try to soak that up. And so that's all you can do. I mean, even if I'm speaking to 25 kids and only one of them is listening and one of them takes something from that, I don't feel bad about that. I feel like at least I was able to get across to one of these young men. But I think for the most part, there's some pretty bright, there's some pretty good young men that are in the league today. I know that the NFL is in a great place, especially with all of these great quarterbacks that we have. We got 2 Texas boys playing in the Super Bowl. So, it's a great thing right now.
Bobby, thank you. I know you got a busy day, busy schedule. A lot of people want to have a chance to visit with you. You're a lifelong great one. I appreciate you, all of what you do to give back with what you've been able to experience in your life, and we appreciate your time today.
Yeah, appreciate you too. I can remember you did the first ever feature that I ever had. It was the first feature that any person did, and so I feel like we're family. Keep doing what you're doing. I know you've been doing it for the longest. I mean, I like listening to you. You bring a lot to the game, and so you guys have a great week. And if I'm able to get over there to see you in person, it would be good to see you as well.
Yes, sir. If you get over here, let me know, and we'll be here. Bobby Taylor, the great Bobby Taylor, in so many different ways. He was the best overall high school athlete across the board in the 42 years I've covered the sports. High school football, basketball, track, he did it all. Won a state championship in basketball. Like he said, Digger Phelps had left, I think, the year before he arrived, and John McLean was the coach there for a little bit. He was absolutely as smooth as the others, just smooth as silk when it came to what he could do.
Yeah, and he was there at the right time. Like, that was the right time where guys could play 2 sports.
Yep.
I mean, now coaches, the way that, the Charlie Wards and the Donovan McNabb, he played both, Bo Jackson, of course, the most famous, Dion. Like, the coaches just, they let it happen in instances, but it used to be pretty prevalent. Like, playing both of them professionally, now that was something that was really hard to do.
Yeah.
That Dion and Bo pulled off, and Brian Jordan did as well. But, that you just don't see it anymore. You know, and I think it's unfortunate. I wish, and this is going to make me sound old, that this generation of kids would have experienced the Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders era like we all did. Jacob did. He was younger, but still, Garrett did. I did. I mean, those are 2 of my favorite athletes. Bo was my favorite. If you ask me what my favorite when I was a kid athlete would be, and maybe he is still my favorite athlete overall of all time, even though I was never a Royals fan or a Raiders fan, but Bo Jackson, it was amazing to watch him when he was playing. It was amazing to watch Deion when he was playing. Even though that people would look at me like, oh, well, Deion's great at football, and in Major League Baseball, oh, he's only like a 238 hitter. And you're like, dude, 238 when you're not there the whole year is amazing. The fact that anytime Deion got on base or Bo got on base, it was pretty much they're going to score a run. Like, if you moved them over, they were going to score. You did not want to get those 2 to second base. They were going to score. It was going to happen. And it was unbelievable to watch them at the time being elite both. And
no question.
Yeah.
And Bobby Taylor was that. Patrick Mahomes' father, Pat, would have been in that same conversation. He was special. Pitcher, basketball, football, did it all.
Wiry,
for Lindale
right?
High School. Not for White House where his son went and played.
Pat's wiry, too, so he had the build where he could play all those sports.
Yep.
It wasn't,
Bobby was smooth as silk. Patrick, again, his father was phenomenal, and everybody saw that guy. There are not a lot of them. When you're mentioning Bo Jackson and those who played multiple sports, no, that's one handful maybe. Deion what he did was phenomenal with football and also with what he did in baseball with the Braves and the Reds. All right, when we come back, John McLean, Hall of Famer. It's a big week. The Pro Football Hall of Fame will announce a new class again this weekend. They are having discussions and all of that. We talked with John and discussed that with him. We'll discuss the game as well and just his trends about the NFL this week. He'll join us next on 365 Sports.
The future's bright, the time is now. Destiny is calling, can you hear the sound?
This isn't just another song. This is the soundtrack of life at Baylor.
There's a spark in your heart and a fire that's in your eyes.
If you're ready to take a big step toward a bright future, tap the banner below to check out the music video for a glimpse of life at Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes. Cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links. Fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Mahomes, he'll just chuck it ahead, and it's caught. McKinnon has that next gear. Touchdown on a full sprint to the end zone.
Live from Super Bowl 57 Radio Row in Phoenix, this is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
Good protection for Jalen Hurts, who takes a shot, and he's got A.J. Brown inside the 10, inside the 5.
365 Sports coverage of Super Bowl 57 is brought to you by U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, IdealMRI.com, TFNB, your bank for life, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, Cam Heathcott, and Chuck Verno, Marco's Pizza, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Waco Custom Marketplace, Three Nations Brewery, The Nitchie Group, and Petty Clinic Low T. Now here's David Smoak and Paul Catalina.
Special thanks, Kai Kizzy, Captain Kizzy, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company. I remember, and he's, of course, they have been a sponsor of us since day one in April of 2020. Visited with him about the Super Bowl. The Wounded Warriors, remember the amputee flag football game that's every year. This year they're setting it up already for next year in Vegas. We appreciate Captain Kizzy and the U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company for their amazing support. We're now joined by Hall of Fame columnist John McLean, GallerySports.com, and also Houston 610. And many stations he does like us, and we've been interviewing John McLean forever. John, we miss you. It's not the same without you out here, but I know you have plenty on your plate. Let's start with the Super Bowl 57. This, I think, is my 25th. Paul's been around every year, but maybe one or maybe since 2011. And so we all have our number. What would it be if you were here, or how many have you covered in the past?
I covered 40. I think I missed the last 2. And truthfully, I enjoyed Radio Row, but I didn't enjoy just fighting the crowds like I did for so many decades. I wrote a column that's on GallerySports.com about 10 of my most memorable experiences at the Super Bowl. And boy, I could have written about so many more. And there's some I know that I wish I could write about, but I can't print them or talk about them, but they're too juicy. And it was great reliving those moments. And I kept thinking of more and more and more. And I didn't say it was the greatest. I just said it didn't stand out to me. And so I hope people might check them out. And I always had a blast on Radio Row. You know, you always give gifts to people that come on as guests. Most don't. I always appreciated that. And so I'm headed to Astros spring training for 10 days next week, and I'm going to go to the Combine for a week, then I'm going to go to the league meetings in March in Scottsdale for a week. And so I'm not going to have any shortage of traveling. My boss, Mattress Mack, asked me yesterday when we did our weekly video. He said, "You going to the Super Bowl?" I said, "No."
Well, look, we'll happy to entertain Mattress Mack if he comes here. And if we don't get you, we'll trade it for Mattress Mack, who a person I'm extremely fascinated with all the time, John. But this game is. There's a lot of ties, obviously Andy Reid, coached the Eagles in a Super Bowl and they didn't win. And, he was let go and has now since built the Chiefs into this, perpetual powerhouse. But the teams are built really differently, mostly like low cost at the skill positions. Patrick Mahomes has got the huge contract. Jalen Hurts doesn't. The Eagles are probably more talented player by player, but Patrick Mahomes raises the level of everybody else on the roster. How do you think that shakes out when they actually knock helmets on Sunday night?
Paul and David, I've been taking the Eagles since before the playoffs started. The reason is they're balanced. They have the best combination of offensive and defensive lines in the NFL. Chiefs have a really good offensive line, a good defensive line, but I don't think they're on the par with the Eagles. The Eagles run the ball better. They have the best pass rush I've seen since '85 Bears. 74% of their sacks were generated with a 4-man rush. Those 4 players are in double digits in sacks. And I think that if you can drop 7 and rush 4 and put some heat on Mahomes, he's not as mobile as he usually is because of the high ankle sprain, and he's got injuries at wide receiver. I think that you can slow down that offense. And first and foremost, the defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, is doing a great job. He's got to take out Travis Kelce. It is ridiculous the way teams continue to let Travis Kelce beat them. Put 2 guys on him, have one hit him at the line of scrimmage, even if it's a linebacker, and then be all over it in man coverage and let somebody else beat you. Force Mahomes to go to somebody else to win the game. And I don't think that the Chiefs can do that. They don't have the weapons they usually have, and they have the injuries. I think the game that truly is going to be won in the trenches, just like Kansas City has to do such a better job accounting for Hassan Reddick, who's become a great pass rusher. You can't put a tight end to try to block the guy because the Eagles just have too much coming at you.
All right, John, Hall of Fame. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Who did you go to bat for? Can you even tell us any of that?
I can tell you we find out who's in the Hall of Fame on Thursday night on the NFL Honors Show. And I think I told you guys before, the coach and senior nominees are almost always rubber stamped by the big committee. That would bode well for Coach Don Coryell and for seniors Chuck Howley, who I presented, Ken Riley, the late Ken Riley, and Joe Klecko, the Jets defensive lineman. That would bode well for them. I'll be surprised if they're not in. As far as the 5 modern era finalists, I can't wait to see who's in. We never have a bad class, I can tell you that.
John, what would you – I think I may have asked you this before, but the Baseball Hall of Fame seems to, wrestle every year with putting guys on the ballot, and they will have classes that people will debate and all that, but you guys don't have that problem. How would you change what they do so they can make what they do more like what you do?
They have over 400 people that vote anonymously. You can say what your ballot is. If you want to release it online, you can. Some of them do. But in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, there's 48 of us. We constantly debate. We argue. It's a year-long process, and then we get the original list of more than 100 nominations. We pare it down to 25, then to 15 modern eligible finalists, and we can put in a maximum of 5. And I wish we could put in 15. There's so many players out there who I believe deserve to be in the Hall of Fame who are not in there. It's like I know there's a lot of baseball players who deserve to be in the Hall of Fame who are not in there. And they take great pride this year, voting in one guy, Scott Rowland. Now, their Veterans Committee put in Fred McGriff, so there's 2. So when they go to Cooperstown, there's going to be 2 people where I like ours so much better. It's a multi-hour production, really a day-long production by the NFL Network and ESPN that most televise it simultaneously. So they got their way, we got ours. I'm partial because I've been on our committee for 30 years.
All right, John, I know you've mentioned this with Lawrence Taylor and other players who have been through things personally or off the field, that is not supposed to come into play. Has there ever been a player in the end after the cycle of being up for the Hall of Fame that because of anything off the field they didn't make it and they should have?
Well, first of all, our bylaws say nothing a player does away from football can affect his candidacy. We don't legislate morals, and we legislate what they did on the field. And on the field means practice, locker rooms, sideline. It's just football related. If Pete Rose, Roger Clemens, and Barry Bonds had done what they did in football, they'd already be in the Hall of Fame. And the one that was debated the longest was Lawrence Taylor because Lawrence had a lot of off-the-field issues, and we had the bylaws read back to us. So we have not had anybody, despite what a lot of people out there say, and I'm talking about amazing to me how many former players think they know what goes on behind our closed doors, or somebody like Deion Sanders who says we put too many people in when he has no access to the information that we do. And we take great pride in the painstaking process that we go through, the elements of elimination. And I'd love to be on the Baseball Hall of Fame too, but right now there's nobody that I know of that has been kept off because anything they did off the field. Now, if O.J. Simpson came up today, I think I would abstain because you'd have to vote for him because it's what he did on the field when I think he murdered 2 people.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. John, thank you very much. Baylor, Oklahoma women tonight, Baylor, Oklahoma men tonight. Your thoughts about Jonathan Chachua and his return in a huge win that they had on Saturday blowing out Texas Tech?
That couldn't have been any better. I was so excited to see a sellout crowd and a great victory, and having them back has been unbelievable for Baylor, and I can't wait to watch the games. Pick 'em.
John McLean, Hall of Famer in every way. Appreciate his time. A long time. Some of you asking if he's out here. No, he explained that when he was on the NFL beat, and he is at the top of the food chain there, 40-something years he mentioned, he had to be out here. He was an NFL writer. The Oilers weren't here. The Texans weren't here. But he was an NFL writer. This is where he had to be. This is where he needed to be, like baseball spring training meetings or owners meetings or whatever. And now he's working for Gallery Sports. He gets to go to Baseball training camp.
Wherever he wants, wherever Mattress Mack approves him to go, which seems like Mack is a hell of a boss. So fascinated by that guy. Fascinated by Mattress Mack. Absolutely fascinated by him. But John also, one of the things that's changed, and for the benefit of guys like John, old and grizzled sports writers who've done it a lot and don't need the frills of all this, they used to have to vote on the Hall of Fame the week, like it was, I think they did it, they came in the Sunday before and they did some work, and then by the time the week started, they were done, so they had to be out here for all that. Now that's done all beforehand, so they don't have to come. They don't have to, there's no official proceeding. But I remember the first year we're here, we went to the breakfast after they announced it because they didn't have the NFL honors. We went to the breakfast, and there were a bunch of the guys there, which was really cool. And Jesse Jackson, strangely enough, was at that. That was kind of a weird thing. I guess he can get wherever he wants, but like to see all these NFL Hall of Famers and then the Reverend Jesse Jackson was kind of a weird thing. I also then later that night, because it was Sunday night, Zach Burke and I were in the media work area at Cowboy Stadium, or AT&T Stadium now, underneath, like there, where we're going to watch the game. And I saw the Reverend Jesse Jackson and Guy Fieri having like a really intense conversation about the game that I eavesdropped on for way longer than I should have because I had to hear it.
Was it about pasta or
something?
No,
it was just about the game. And like, Guy was like, look, man, I just think the Packers are going to win. And Jesse's like, man, I think Big Ben's good. And I was like, all right.
In my change of habits of what I watch and listen to, like when I'm home in the evening or maybe the weekend and there's just not much on. And again, I've told you guys this. I still watch. I'm very much in tune. I watched Kansas, Texas last night when we were at the airport, and then as much as we could on Gamecast on the flight. But I have the Food Network is kind of like always on. It like some people have the stock market. Right. If I had money in the market, maybe I would, but it's always on. And the diners, drive-ins, and dives, there's 1 million of them. They've got like 1 million of them, the royalties. But he would be a fun dude to spend some time with.
I've always wanted to. He was on a Radio Row a few years ago, and I tried to get him on. We had Andrew Zimmern one time in New Orleans, and he was great. But guy's got a great reputation. I mean, like he has this huge charity, right, Jacob, that's for like keeps restaurant workers, like, helps them out and through things. He does tons of stuff like that show for those little bitty restaurants. Right. Like, he's not going to big chains. He's going to little restaurants, and then he has drawn so much business for locally owned businesses. People really like, Shane, what's his name? Shane Torres has a great bit about him, I think, is a comedian.
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's a comedian, has a great bit about him. He's like, here's a guy, and everybody talks about Anthony Bourdain, may he rest in peace, but everybody's on Guy Fieri, like, dude, this is like the nicest guy in the world who's like making money for these local businesses, people traveling to these nowhere towns to go to this restaurant because Guy ate a sandwich there.
Yeah. I was on the big island of Hawaii a couple of years ago, and we went to a poke restaurant called Umeke's, and I don't typically like fresh fish, but it was delicious, melt in your mouth. And then the next day, I'm sitting in our Airbnb, and Guy Fieri is at that restaurant. And, like, it was just, kind of amazing how he can find these little holes in the wall and, get you to like food that you didn't think that you would enjoy.
Yeah. He's just energy and, and there's hundreds of them, like dozens of different features. But I do enjoy just having it on in the background.
Fresh fish, that's what'll ruin you for seafood a lot of places. Like when I was in Hawaii this summer, I ate at a seafood restaurant. It was one of the best I've ever eaten at, and it was simply because it was so fresh. And I asked the guy, like, when did you catch this? And he, like, turned around. He's like, hey, Frank, when did you catch this? He's like, I don't know, like an hour.
He's unloading them out of the boat behind you.
Yeah.
All right, Garrett, you ever watch the Food Network?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I watch the Food Network a lot. I used to like the Chopped. I got sucked into Chopped.
Now they've got like 5 different angles of Chopped.
Right.
Like they have champions against each other, and then and there's stars that have come out of that.
Yeah.
Their version of The Voice or America's Got Talent or whatever all that is in food terms.
One of my favorite Radio Row interviews ever, as a matter of fact, was Mark Summers, the host of Chopped, and of course the host of Double Dare from the early days of Nickelodeon.
I remember Double Dare fondly.
Yes. So it was one of the ones where somebody came up and said, okay, I have this person. Yes, great. And then they're like, we have Mark Summers. I was like, from Double Dare? and it's like, so you want him? I'm like, yeah, I do. I have a lot of questions about some of the idiot dads who would lose for the family the money. Like, what are you doing? No, but he was great. We had it was one of my favorite interviews, really interesting. And I asked him a random question about, because now all game shows are hosted by like actors.
Right.
So, it's RuPaul or Elizabeth Banks or Alec Baldwin or Anthony Anderson or somebody like that. And before it was like a game show host was an actual gig you had that you weren't also something else. So you weren't a star of a movie. You were just the game show host. And I said, it's kind of like you and Pat Sajak and Alex Trebek was still alive then. And I said, do you guys ever talk to each other? It's like being the president, like you guys only know something. He's like, to be honest with you, he's like, I know you're kidding, but I literally had dinner with Pat Sajak last night before I got on the plane. And I was like, oh my God, it's true. They have like a little club.
It's a little network.
Like them and Wink Martindale playing golf.
There is no top 5, huh?
No, not today. There will be one tomorrow. We had too much stuff going on.
Why would there not be one today?
We had way too much stuff going on. Are we on the air right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why there's no top 5.
But we've been on the air. We've been on the air since 3 o'clock. We've recorded interviews, which we played. I was told we couldn't do that. We did. I was told there was, certain things we couldn't do. We did it. We've done everything that we're supposed to do. A lot of things behind the scenes that people don't know.
Yeah.
Our audience doesn't know. Everything that we're supposed to accomplish today, up until the last 5 to 8 minutes, Jacob, have we done everything we were supposed to do?
Yeah, we when we played Coach Nunes, great interview. It was in the Marine Corps when you're on the rifle range, when you're standing, they call it spray and pray because you're so unstable. We were literally throwing it into the computer, and I said myself, spray and pray. Let's do it.
Yeah. I did not have, plus not having my computer and having to do some production slowed me down to where I didn't have the mental bandwidth to think of 5 things that all had something to do with each other today.
I could think of your 5 worst moments in Super Bowl Radio Row history, and today might be one of them.
But not having a top 5. No, today is not even close to the worst. Like, we got on and all that. There's been a lot of other, bad ones.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, not a lot. But
when have there ever been bad ones?
I mean, stressful times,
This is the most relaxed I have ever been, I think,
you have
at a
ever
Radio
been.
Row. You know why? Because I have my laptop. I have my information. We had the guests lined up.
And I slipped something in your water before the show. It's okay.
Yeah. So,
Can you give me more of it?
Yeah.
Everybody that knows me wishes they could get more of it.
Yeah. And this is the first time that we've done this particular type of broadcast this way from Radio Row, so it was new for me too.
Jacob, did you do everything you were supposed to today?
I believe I did, yes.
Garrett.
Yeah.
Me too.
But we were right up until the time.
Well, it's 5:47. You have 8 minutes to come up with a verbal top 5.
With a verbal top 5.
Not now.
Not now?
We're going to break.
Okay, I'll do it. Okay,
let's do it.
In the break, I'll do one. All right.
All right, let's do it.
We'll do that when we come back. And Paxton, TJ, many of you, Michael, a lot of you have asked me, will you go and just take a video of where we are? And I would probably like to wait till tomorrow, but it gets even more crowded about early mid-morning because a lot of the East Coast stations are done. I'm going to go get my phone and just run around, do a video. I'll try to post it up if we can in the chat room next, along with Paul's verbal top 5. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes. Cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links. Fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Welcome back, 365 Sports. The totally improvised top five. So I will just give you the top 5 random things that have happened or I've seen on Radio Row today. So number 5, I found out when we got here that we have friends that work at the Las Vegas stations that are here, and they are blocking, their gigantic backdrop is blocking Pat McAfee. And it's caused a little bit of a...
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's caused a little bit of a... I wouldn't say a kerfuffle. The kerfuffle would be too much.
Kerfuffle's what we got on the streets in New York, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the kerfuffle.
What was that?
It's falafel.
Okay.
Falafel. No, kerfuffle. It just... I don't think anybody's really mad about it, but they were... FanDuel was a little bit upset because... But
oh, you know what? Screw them.
Yeah.
And I love that guy. It's not him, is it?
No. It's not. It's just I think
everybody has backdrops, and we've actually improvised today because we're going to get our backdrop, but it's actually looked pretty good. But you can see the one behind us is a lot larger, right? You have the Believe, and you have, but they have a freaking
they have a stage, but yeah, they're shot into their camera shot into Radio Row.
Okay,
is blocked by it.
Oh,
but
too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
All these guys on the outside, Fox and all them, they have these stages. God bless them. That's great. It's wonderful.
So in the Super Bowl,
here's money
about these backdrops as well. So in the Super Bowl in Atlanta, we got one from Balcones. And it was great. It was a beautiful, beautiful backdrop. We wound up using it for other things we did with them and for them. But we were there. So Balcones, we did this great backdrop. But the NFL was all over us the whole time about how high it could be. And,
God.
So it was like we were constantly like, if the cool people were there, we could raise it all the way up. If the sticklers were there, we had to drop it down to where it was. So we had to deal with that. And now they have decided, and I think this is post-COVID, everybody that was there, that was the 10 of us, in the Tampa Super Bowl was like, hey, it's kind of awesome that we have all this space to move around instead of cramming us in, because we were in Minneapolis, we were in this really tight space.
It was like a lunch.
It was in
like
the food
cafeteria
it was in
at
the food
a middle
court.
school.
It was in the food court at the Mall of America, which the Mall of America is huge, and the food court is huge. It's not so huge when you have 100 radio stations in there.
And all in this one section.
Yeah. So with equipment and all that, like usually people are just eating Shake Shack and moving on with their lives, not doing a show for hours a day. So that was number 5. Number 4, I've seen like just randomly sitting here, we saw Clark Hunt. And the whole entire ownership of the Chiefs.
I now know which one.
What?
Well, Clark Hunt was here, the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs.
And his daughter, who's a big social media star.
Instagram, like
TikTok
star,
social media star. She was here. So we saw them. But it was a weird Tuesday, early in the week, that's usually kind of a weird time at like 9 a.m. to see.
I know what number 1 going to be. I'm going to write it down.
Yeah. You know what number 1's going to be. Number 3, Kenny Mayne is here, and I bet you we'll get him on the show. But he is rocking flip-flops.
Yeah.
He's rocking flip-flops.
Cool, he's a Seattle guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he has embraced certainly the Arizona lifestyle. But Kenny Mayne rocking flip-flops. Number 2, I will say.
I thought this was 3.
That was 3. Kenny Mayne was rocking flip-flops.
Kenny Mayne was 3.
Lamar Hunt was 4. Kenny Mayne was
3.
Okay.
Yeah. Number 2, now after we weren't the first ones, but I do, like, everybody is here with a gigantic banner and nobody's saying anything. So I'm gonna come back to that one, that we were kind of pioneers in.
Yeah, we were.
In that of fighting the good fight.
Yeah, we were.
We really, really were. So now nobody's bothered by it. It's all kind of a thing.
Just get this one day pass fulfilled if you would finish your top 5 before the deadline.
And number 1, Carrot Top is here. Oh, Carrot Top is here.
Why in the hell is he here?
He's crunch mode.
You know, he's like net worth is $70 million.
Oh yeah, I mean he's cleaned up. I mean it wasn't because of that movie he made, chairman of the board. But
I didn't even know he made one.
Oh yeah, well they'll make one.
He is here because he's like representing Vegas.
Probably yeah, I think so. But it is.
Man, let me tell you something.
It's
rode
not,
hard and put up wet. Am I right?
Yes. The only other time I've ever seen a celebrity on Radio Row and gone, huh, was when Madonna. We were in. Let me tell you the story of Madonna,
You're
and then we're done.
About, man.
So we were used. They used to bring the halftime guests through Radio Row, and NFL Network was in the middle of Radio Row, so they would kind of parade the person through because they wanted the shot and they wanted people to get photo ops. And it was great. Like when Beyonce came, I mean, Q, was knocking people over to see Beyonce. The Black Eyed Peas did it. Like we saw it. Katy Perry did it in Phoenix the time. So, but when Madonna in Indianapolis came, she was walking through and we couldn't move because there were people behind us and in front of us. So we're just kind of sitting there, and I was like, oh, I guess Madonna's coming through. And she walked right in front of the table, right here, and I looked up from my computer, and she's had so much work done. I was like, no! Okay, that was not what I expected.
Yeah.
When,
I have
Madonna. Yeah, I have a picture.
Did you see her?
Like a Virgin
I don't
Vogue.
watch any of those shows anymore. They've gotten out of control for me. But she looked like she was a corpse or something.
Yeah, it's worse now. That was 10 years ago.
I know.
So, but yeah, it was really off-putting because I had this picture of like Dick Tracy, Vogue, League of Their Own. That's who I think of when I think of Madonna in my head. And then it was, I saw zombie Madonna. Like I was
Walking Dead.
I was half expecting Norman Reedus to come out and like, are you bit? Are you bit? No, that was how it was.
Yeah. All right, you did it. See, it was worth it.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, first one.
First Super Bowl Radio Row.
Garrett, first one.
First one, man. It's a blast.
We've been here many times. You never want to take these for granted. I think over the 25 times, there have been a handful where you kind of you don't ever want to take anything for granted, and especially what we get to do, cover championships and bowl games and Final Fours and all that, and this and. Yeah, I think there are times you kind of walk in here with a street fight mentality. I've used this example, and again, the video wouldn't post, but I told you and Craig one time, Radio Row, when it's more condensed, and I'm not talking about the numbers are the same, but the tables are right on top of each other. It is like watching Gangs of New York. Am I right?
Yeah,
it is an absolute street. It's fun. It's competitive. I mean, it's, but it's like the Gangs of New York, how intense it can be in here with guests and guys and runners and topics. And today was as relaxing a first day, I think, as I've ever had, because I did everything I was supposed to do today.
Yeah.
Including getting you to do a top 5.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. You feel personally attacked, Garrett?
A little bit.
No, you guys are on record. You got everything you want. Personal attack. All right, well, you get your stuff. I almost said it. You get your stuff together.
It's fine.
And Brian brought us a former Cowboys, Eagles scout, my Packers scout, who's works for a fan up in Dallas, came by and said hi, dropped in. He goes, man, you guys got something going with what we do with college football today and this week. Of course, a lot of it is the NFL. But looking at the college side, Jalen Hurts, Alabama, Oklahoma, Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech. You guys ready? I got to get some sleep tonight. That was a long day.
It was rough.
Yeah.
But there's a media party tonight.
If we get there, we got some work
to do. All right. Thank you, all of you in the chat room. We'll turn this around again tomorrow. Is Jim McMahon tomorrow with Kyle Turley or Thursday?
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, so Kyle Turley,
yeah. That'll be a blast.
Yeah.
So BYU fan base, Jim McMahon's one of our guests tomorrow. All right, for everyone, Garrett, Jacob, Jack back in the studio, Craig, all of them were working before we even went on the air. Paul, even you.
Yes.
I'm David Smoak. Thank you. Good luck to Baylor and Oklahoma tonight, women's basketball. Good night from Phoenix and NFL Media Headquarters and Radio Row.